Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 216 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
Karak, you see this thing I'm fiddling with here a little bit?
Yeah, it looks like one of those tension relievers.
You know, I never was a believer in this. I'm not a super stressed guy. But this thing works. There's just some type of material in here that when you squeeze it...
Satisfying?
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I'm the shit. I'm like, wow, this is great.
I'm the shit.
Yeah, my confidence goes up like 5 points. It's insane.
Look how strong I am.
And then I have
it's
two.
A mango, isn't it?
I have two.
What is it? It looks like
and
a
I can
mango.
just smush them together, and they don't stick as much as they used to. But yeah, these
What
guys
are they?
stick. I don't
Are
know.
they
My
mangoes?
girlfriend, she gave me because I gave her a book a while ago, and she just suddenly gave me back that book she had read. These two stress balls, I don't remember why she said she gave them to me. She wasn't like, you're stressed. I think she was just like, hey, here you go. I made these in class, I think it was.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was like, sure, I'll take them, and I'll just put them on my desk and mess around with them.
I need to pay her to make me a nice yellow and black ACG one. Those,
dude.
They actually do work. I mean, I box. You got to burn it off somehow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just
those
like
things are relaxing.
good to fiddle with, I guess. I don't know.
They filled with sand.
Yeah, maybe it is. You can't really shake it in here, but oh man, if this is sand, this is the softest sand of all time. And
Gotcha.
It's very moldy.
Maybe it's a powder of some kind.
It's like Play-Doh's in here. Oof, Play-Doh. That's a throwback. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 216 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. For those who are new here, the uninitiated, this is a little weekly gaming show. And normally I don't do this type of introduction, but we've had a lot of new viewers coming in. We have about, this month I gained about almost 3,000 new subs. So welcome if you're new. Appreciate you hopping on board. This is a weekly gaming podcast where we take a lot of the highlights of the news week. We're not really political here. We don't really dabble in drama, rather. We just take stuff that we think is interesting and we talk about it. So if you are new, we do have a Patreon for $1. You get early access to this show on Fridays, which go live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on all podcast platforms like Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, and as well as YouTube. So you can listen anywhere for free if that's your shtick, but if you do choose to support us, you get early access alongside access to the Discord where you can interact with a really great community and also post comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas in the Patron question section. And I think we got like 20 questions this week. Like,
yeah, we have
a
ton.
A lot.
Guilt works, baby.
Yeah.
We guilted them.
We did. We gave them a little shit. Because, like,
yeah.
I even did a little subliminal guilt trip. You know, I said I was doing questions for, was it either Borderlands or The Outer Worlds? And I said, like, the patrons left 0 questions about the game. They straight up went, no, we don't have any. I was like, really, guys? I was like, you got nothing for me about these games? But, hey, you know what? They came out strong this week. So we got a lot to go through.
Let me guess, McFury's got the most. Does he have a list?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly, I just saw the sheer amount of names, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good surprise when we do the show. Like, I want to go in spoiler free. We also like to talk about projects that are upcoming in our introduction section. So for me, I've had a couple of secret projects underway for a while. I was just telling Karak how I got some really good headway on one of them. Karak, honest opinion without spoilers. Cool. What do you think? It sound cool?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're talking about
the one that we literally just...
Yeah, no, it sounds awesome. Like that, yeah, I don't want to say any data, but yeah, that sounds very cool. Like, that's the kind of stuff I love. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah, we're sponsored by
Very
ACG,
cool.
if you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And I made some headway in another project, but I don't want to give specifics because, like Karak said, it just ruins the surprise, which I should be announcing within the next month. So,
or
good stuff.
Captures the disappointment when it falls apart. Because they do. People don't realize how many projects fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
It is not too hard to have a YouTube project fail.
Oh God, yeah. Especially when like one of my projects is like it just hinges on people participating.
Exactly.
It's like, will you give me your time? They're like, yeah, sure, and then they never do.
Yep.
It's tough.
Yep.
You can have this great idea. Karak, on your end, any cool projects you working on? I know you just reviewed Remnant. Anything else on the horizon?
Control I'm reviewing, and then I've got
Control.
Jesse Harlan, who is the composer of Republic Commando as well as 1313 prior to its cancellation. Austin Wintory from Journey and Abzu and all those games, the composer, as well as Justin Bell from Obsidian. as the composer for them, as well as Brian Edward Hill, all on a podcast next Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. on my Twitch channel.
Nice.
So it's just a creative podcast. I'm not going to be. I don't know why I'm even there. I was telling the other guys, I'm like, these guys are so creative. I might as well just put producer and just let them talk. But
seriously,
I wanted to get a mix. So Brian Edward Hill writes for movies and TV shows as well as comics. So he does Batman comics. He does Titans, the TV show. And he's done other TV shows as well as writes for Batman. So I got one comic book writer as well as these 3 composers, and we're just all going to sit down and be like, what's it like? And then, bouncing off one another about like how they use a different medium to get, creative force in their lives and stuff like that. It's just, it's going to be a blast.
That's like the Avengers.
Yeah. What's the a group of Avengers that are like not as cool as the main group, where there's like, I can't remember
just think of the Guardians
new
of the
Avengers.
Galaxy. I don't know.
Well, there you go. It's more like that.
I mean, they are
we've got
technically
this
the
weird
Avengers.
mix.
They're part of the Avengers, but I just look at them and I think they're like the not cool, geeky version of like the typical superheroes we know.
That'll be this group, because we're all super nerdy, and like Austin is known for, in the last podcast, playing as like he'd just be like, "Oh, let me play you a song," and like they're all so creative. So it'll probably go off the rails, but it's
that's the best kind of podcast though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we're up to. That's how you can support us. Karak's Patreon is also in the description down below if you want to flick him a buck. And now we move on to topic 1, a company that I did a study on this week, a pretty extensive video. I highly recommend you check it out. It's one of my more special projects, I'd call it. I wouldn't call it like a big thing, but it's one I scripted and researched on for a good handful of days. It's about THQ Nordic. Today we're covering some of the latest news from them. On August 14th, they made quite a bit of acquisitions. Dare I say, they went on a shopping spree. So let's talk about their multiple new acquisitions. They added some smaller studios and investment partners, and their empire grows. The first one is Milestone SRL, formerly known as Graffiti. They're an Italian-based developer, and they made the MotoGP series, which is still around to this day. And I believe that was around when I was a kid, too.
Yeah, MotoGP. Wasn't that PlayStation 1?
Yeah, I think it was PlayStation 2. I might be mixing it up with MTV, or not MTV, Moto versus ATV.
Oh, MotoGP or whatever. Moto versus ATV. Yeah,
Something
they're
that.
around still, too.
Yeah, those were ones I used to play a lot as a kid. Let's see. Who else did they acquire? Joining Milestone under the Koch Media banner, are Gunfire Games. So for those who didn't know, they worked together on Darksiders 3, which they deemed a success. Originally, they said the game did well enough, or it met their expectations, and then they pronounced it a success. So Darksiders 4 is technically coming in a strange way, that being Darksiders Genesis, which looks like a Diablo-style game, but it does not have loot at all. It is just a pretty simple beat-em-up, over-the-head style game.
And Remnant.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm not super excited about that. I was hoping for more of a higher investment version of Darksiders 3, because Darksiders 3 had so much potential. I was one of the people who liked a lot of the ideas there, a lot of the structure of the game, but I felt like the tech wasn't there, and it was very, very much last gen. Not in a good way. Like, you can see smaller budgets on games like a Vampire, but this one looked like it got constricted in some of the wrong ways. Like, there wasn't good management there. Finally, THQ Nordic has acquired video game investment company Goodbye Kansas Game Invest. Alongside that, they picked up the contract of 5 early-stage development studios: Palindrome Interactive, Fall Damage, Neon Giant, Cavalry, and Frame Bunker. And on top of all of that, they secured the royalty rights to the upcoming adventure title, Biomutant.
That was probably their biggest get for me.
You think so?
Just popularity-wise, yeah. That game, it's all I ever hear in the Discord. Like, whenever somebody says, what game are you looking forward to? A lot of people seem just really lit on fire for that game. I
have not watched a lot of it. I remember seeing the concept for it of, wasn't it you could sort of transform into anything you want, and it was RPG style, something along those lines. And
it was animals and DNA, basically.
Yeah.
So you could take in animal DNA and shit.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I said, I have not watched recent gameplay that I believe they just showed at Gamescom. That was something I never had a chance to catch. I was too busy watching SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. But the reason we really wanted to talk about all these THQ Nordic acquisitions was Less of the notable acquisitions they made. To me, I think the biggest one was Gunfire Games, but more so that they're just building this insane amount of developers around the world. And I want to pick your brain because, like I said, I did a whole study on it, so I'll be a little more quiet for this segment. Why do you think they have this approach to just buying everything under the sun, really? Like, if there's a profit to be made, even small, that they want in on that. Why do you think they have this approach? Do you think it's just to keep their name in the minds of gamers? Because, sometimes there's small acquisitions like we note here, Fall Damage, Palindrome Interactive.
Right.
I'll be honest and say I've never heard of these people. But at the same time, they've got like the Nickelodeon brand. They've got now Gunfire Games with Darksiders, which is, as we just learned, a successful series. We have Destroy All Humans. I mean, they have their hands on a lot of really strong IP, but yet they still keep going for these small fish too. And I want to know why. Like, what do you think about that, and why do you think they take this approach?
So, I'm hoping they're taking the approach for making it so that if they have 3 or 4 failures, but just one good success, that'll, it'll even out the boat, so that we don't have what you and I talked about prior to the podcast, which is a dev who is doing well, and they've got 1 or 2 major failures, and that's the end of the dev, and we just see the dev crumble, and there's many devs that have crumbled that way. My hope is that. I do worry a little bit because the person, the brothers buying it are both investors, and usually what they do is they build and then sell. Mm-hmm. And so then you've got this idea of who would they sell if they get too big? Who would they sell to without splitting it up? Which would then be another disaster because you have a dev working for one group and then suddenly for another. But it would be many years, hopefully. So my overall, I would say short term, it seems to me like they're just going on a make a little money from double A. I guess you would consider most of those guys double A's, and it's like make some money here and there, do pretty well, feed it back in, and sort of make a publisher that doesn't have to worry about one big success or lack of success, like a Anthem or something.
Would you put Destroy All Humans in the AAA realm? I struggle with that one because it's such a big name, it's such a big title, but it is a full-on remake of such a big game.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's how recognizable that franchise is that makes me want to consider it AAA. But when I watch the gameplay, I'm like, this looks sharper than anything they've put out there.
I think it's just a really popular AA.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
What I mean? I agree. I think sometimes that can get conflated, and I even struggle sometimes to split that hair.
And I think also it comes down to what somebody says they're excited for is a lot different than what they buy. And what somebody says they won't buy is a lot different than what they will. Because we've seen people say, I'll never buy that game. And then you see them playing it on their fucking Xbox gamer tag or whatever. And you're like, dude, come on. So I think also what people are saying and how excited people are, that'll go up and down depending on how close of a remaster it is. I did watch some Gamescom stuff of that game. And I was shocked. I got to say, I was actually a little embarrassed because they were asking the developers questions about the remake. Mm-hmm. And one of the first questions was probably the most brain-dead question I'd ever heard. It's a remake. We know what the game's about. And they're like, have you made it so you can enter every single building? And it dawned on me just how the lack of forethought on the gamer who asked that, where that came from. That's not what that game's about. It's not. And then it dawned on me that's what's
about
currently
destroying
popular.
the shit.
It's currently popular, though, to go into it's sort of like when you and I go, this game's only 25 hours. There's nothing wrong with that. But everybody's like 60 hours for this game over here, so every game's got to be 60. Every game has to have open buildings because this one has open buildings. It's like, that's not what that game's about. So hopefully they'll get by that, and it won't just be old fans. Because if you sell to old fans, just by the laws of people dying, you will have less old fans alive now than were alive when that fucking came out and were fans at that time. So if you just contain that little time segment of people buying, I hope they get new fans. I hope they show people like, yeah, it's a remaster, but kind of thing. It's like, yes, it's a remaster, but it looks as good as, close to as good as like.
Yeah, I'd love to see them take the approach maybe of another remaster that got announced during Gamescom, which was the Yakuza collection. They did 3, 4, and 5, and they confirmed that each of those games, or I don't know if it's each of those games. I know 3 has all of its missing content there, though. And that's really exciting for US-based audiences because what we got in, I forgot what year it came out. I think it was
the PS3 remake?
Yeah. A lot of people were kind of disappointed with that game because it was missing a lot of why people wanted the title to come over in the first place. So it'd be really neat if Destroy All Humans said like, hey, we had this type of stuff cut, these guns cut, or these skins were cut. Because I know there's going to be skins in the game. They did say that because there's pre-order bonuses for skins. So I do wonder if maybe they'll be able to say...
You mean like a alien skin? Like a free...
Like an outfit that they can wear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I wonder if they'll be able to like say, hey, we're adding this new gun in, we're adding this new vehicle in that you can use and absolutely destroy humans with it. I think that would be a smart move on their behalf because that always... I always think of Skyrim Special Edition. That's like that pinnacle remaster for me, which did not do that thing to send it over the top. It's got the best it created rather the best version of the game in both of our opinions, which was on the Switch. But at the same time, there wasn't that feeling of like we added this, and that. It was just here's Skyrim ported with a new name to create some sizzle.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with Destroy All Humans, I don't know how long it took, but when you're up against all these games that do take a long time and are super big, they do have to sort of nail it somehow to get gamers to go, I definitely want that. Ghostbusters has to do the same, and it sounds like they're trying as well, the Ghostbusters remake.
Yeah.
They're like talking about things. So the companies are aware of it, for sure. They're aware that the competition is redonkulous right now.
Yeah.
Like
but you gotta imagine...
You gotta bring it.
A good reason they're bringing it back is because it's a different time period. I mean, Destroy All Humans was very successful back in, I think it was 2005. And I think a big reason for that was it was just crazy fun.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays with streaming and how social media works and how word of mouth spreads so fast that you could share that fun immediately. You don't have to capture a specific moment. It's very easy to find a fun moment in Destroy All Humans as far as I'm concerned. So I think this is a game that can easily find some success nowadays, but it also explains why you're seeing a lot of franchises come back, and sadly why some are missing. I always talk about Death Row. That's that game I told you about with the discs, which was also like a 3D fighting game, and how I still strongly believe that is a game that would work so well nowadays, but it just released at the wrong time. And so it's cool to see them try, for example, Destroy All Humans again and say, like, oh, let's see if this clicks with people, which I really think it will.
Yeah, I hope it's also priced right. Have we seen the price? Is it 40?
That's a great question. Let's look that up now. I know the collector's edition price is freaking ridiculous. Let's see here. Destroy All Humans.
Oh my God. Now I know what you mean by the collector's edition. Somebody mentioned that in the Discord, that it was a redonkulous cost.
All right, so... No, this is the original port. This is the port that came out on the PlayStation Store itself. $40. Okay. Now that's strange. I've never seen that before. Wow. They had the game from the PS2, okay, in the PS2 to PS4 section on the PS4 store. They had that for $20. So you can access that, or you can get this remake coming out for $40.
For 40.
Very interesting. I've actually never seen that before. Usually they just eliminate the option so that you have to buy this to experience more Destroy All Humans. Let's see if we can find that collector's edition price. I want to...
Because I think it was $280 or something.
Yeah, I thought it was like three something.
Was it?
I think so.
Just know that somebody was mentioning it was definitely in triple digits of a high number.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Really? It's saying on GameStop the DNA Collector's Edition is $150.
Yeah, there's one though that comes with like either a UFO. Is that one come with a UFO? There's one that comes with a toy, and I remember people
Let's see. This comes with a premium box, original game, crown your display case with the 9-inch, 23-centimeter Krypton cow figure. Relax your trigger finger after a long day of disintegrating humans with our patented eye-popping anti-stress toy. Wow, speaking of
anti-stress toys.
That is too funny. Show your keys who's boss with our stylish keychain. Marvel at the detailed depictions of alien mayhem on 6 glorious lithographs. Change Crypto's in-game appearance with all skins available at launch.
160 is not as bad as... it must be a different game that
I could have sworn
Discord
I saw a $300
version. There was
version.
a really expensive version of a game coming out. So
yeah.
160 is high, obviously. I wouldn't buy it. But if it comes with a 9-inch toy, if you go look at a 9-inch, so I have friends that collect the, like a Iron Man figurine or whatever. Dude, a 9-inch figurine by itself is $80. Okay.
Found it. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
This comes from PCinvasion.com. Destroy All Humans, staggering $400 Crypto 137 edition as a creepy alien backpack. Yeah, wow, what the hell? The Crypto 137 edition comes with more items if you can handle the shock. Not only does it include the Crypto backpack and game, you can also get the keychain, lithographs, eye-popping stress toy, a premium box, every in-game Crypto skin. Let's see here. It's just a backpack? Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, it's literally just the backpack on top of everything we mentioned earlier.
Weird.
That's
a lot of money for a backpack.
For $400.
Better be bulletproof or something.
I was going to say that backpack better
give you wings, or I don't know, be a cooler, for beer or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually incredible.
It also makes no sense. One of the things that bothers me is it also makes no sense really with, the collector's editions you're getting. Toys do. Somebody wants a collector toy, that makes sense. I got the Mortal Kombat head. I didn't buy it. I got it from them for their, PR.
Yeah.
And I can see somebody liking that. I don't. I think it's revolting. It's creepy. I have a scorpion head just sitting on my counter. I'm like trying to figure out what to do with it. Depending on what it is, I think it's definitely, it's like it makes more sense. That doesn't, but we'll see. Does it look cool? Does the backpack have a design like a?
It's actually not even I know what you're thinking. You're thinking like a normal backpack. It's like an alien whose arms drape over your shoulders and like hold on to you. It looks like an alien's like grabbing onto you and holding onto you from the back.
Okay then. Yeah, that's not for me.
I don't think it's for many of us.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's probably for that fan who's in their 30s, 40s, who played the game, has that disposable income, and maybe they have a kid and they want to give the kid I don't know.
I don't know.
I can think of a lot of things.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're considering buying that $400 collector's edition, let us just impart some advice to you that the new console generation is upon us next year, and I can guarantee that more than half of that can go towards a new system, which you will then get extensive use out of. So just keep that in mind, folks. Tip from your friendly neighborhood Matty and Karak. All right.
That's crazy.
Let's talk about Cyberpunk. So it was announced just a few days ago that Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay live stream is happening on August 30th. Sorry, I have to clear my throat. A little bit of phlegm there. 11 a.m. Pacific time. The presentation features 15 minutes of what the developer has been showing at Gamescom, as well as additional information about the game. Pacifica, different playstyles, and more will be discussed. For those who don't know, Pacifica is a region in the open world. The reason it's 15 minutes compared to what we saw, or what we heard about, rather, at E3, where folks were putting out impressions videos of about an hour of gameplay that they saw, is CD Projekt Red wanted to avoid major spoilers. So that kind of made me happy that I ended up not going and checking that out. That was one of the reasons I considered going to E3. But I'm glad now I didn't, because I don't want that game really getting spoiled for me. But obviously here on the channel we cover a lot of RPGs. You can expect me to go all in on that gameplay live stream. I thought about making a video talking about this, but I'm like, what am I going to say? Here's an announcement of announcement. So
short time frame though. 15. I mean, I get that they don't want to show spoilers. That makes total sense. 15 minutes is short though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you think about it, they gave us 44 off the rip. Another 15. That's over an hour of just raw gameplay sitting out there for you to really learn about the game. And obviously, I think we'll get one more batch prior to the launch of the title. I don't know when a good time for them would be to drop it would be. Maybe the Video Game Awards, but I imagine this won't be the last of the gameplay we see. But they did say it's strange. You know, it's really strange because they said they wanted to stretch their resources out, which is why they were waiting until after Gamescom to show this. And then they ended up editing that, which required more work to show the public a very specific part of the gameplay. I thought that was kind of backwards compared to what they originally said.
If they're doing a 15-minute one, I mean, the only reason to do a Twitch live stream is that you want to really show something. So my hope is that they show something new no one's expected. So, you know, you only do want to show 15 minutes if it's a new feature. I don't know what that new feature would be, but it would be cool if they were like, here's one new thing. It doesn't have to be something massive, but where your 15 minutes is like, oh shit, you know, versus maybe 15 minutes of this of just continued gameplay we've seen before.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to see what they, because I don't think a company usually says, let's do an entire live stream for a 15-minute video, unless there's something like really cool to show. And they've been pretty good at hitting like the bumps, you know, like we're going to show this. Obviously, Keanu was a big deal. It's like we're going to show this and this. Maybe they'll show a little bit more of him or something, you know, like something to get people just continually talking about it, which they've been very good at.
Yeah, for sure. I think the reason they're also doing a live stream is because they're going to be sitting down and probably answering questions afterwards.
Yeah.
I've never heard of just like a straight 15-minute live stream. Just upload the video on YouTube at that point. So I think the developers are definitely going to be sitting down, and I think they actually did confirm that the developers are going to be sitting down and talking a little bit about additional information. Now the write-up mentioned different play styles. We saw a little bit of that in the initial gameplay reveal already. I'm more interested about this new region of the world because we saw a good chunk of it in the initial gameplay where it was more urban, you know, street to street, the start of the game. And so I'm curious what this Pacifica is like. It sounds very much on like the ocean side. Let's see if I can find some
like
information on
wharf areas or something like that. And I'm sure they discuss it in the role-playing game. Another thing is, I think his name's Pondsmith, the original creator of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, Mike Pondsmith.
He's going to be in the game too, which is cool.
Yes, he is.
So they didn't really say. I don't think they really indicated as what I would assume an NPC or something, you know, bartender, something like that.
So
that'd be cool.
I was wrong. Pacifica is, according to the Cyberpunk Gamepedia page, Pacifica is the most dangerous part of town, abandoned and overrun by gang activity. Separated from the rest of the city, it's a place of immense poverty. Originally, it was going to be a fancy place of hotels and malls, but investors pulled out and left it abandoned. This caused the abandoned hotel to become the black marketplace.
Cool.
Yeah, wow. And then for Cyberpunk 2020, it says Pacifica is Section G, beach city on the coast, known for the best seafood in Night City, and home of Playland by the sea. The place is protected by the Militech security contract, meaning it is a fairly safe place. So, two versions. But the first one I read, it says this article is a stub. You can help Cyberpunk 2077, by expanding it. So, so that the first one is more geared towards 2077. And you can actually see there were screens that were released throughout this whole week, actually. That were little screens of Pacifica. I'm looking at them now, and I see palm trees. It does look very dusty. Looks run down. You can see a lot of like tents pitched in what seems to be kind of like a homeless area. It's got a very like West Coast vibe to it, but yet it's got like it's a homeless section here as well.
Which is pretty cool because the other stuff they've shown us has been fairly urban.
Yeah, exactly. So this does look different.
And stuff.
It does look like a truly different sector of the city. It's interesting though because I'm seeing all these palm trees, but at the same time here I'll drop what I'm looking at in the chat so you can take a peek as well. It's funny though because you still see just tons of buildings everywhere. It's very much like LA, honestly. Like it's just these trees are just popped up everywhere. You'll see what I'm talking about. I don't even see any water, which is quite interesting.
Definitely looks all beat up and stuff. That'll be cool. It'll also be. I mean, obviously most games do this, but it'll be interesting to see what missions you'll get from the people there versus the more urban areas.
Good point.
You know, like, or, you know, if you go into the super nice city areas, what kind of mission, you know, where do you need to go? How do you need to go about it? Like, do you need to role play more versus just light it up with your M16? And then will you be taking on other gangs?
Will you get attacked by, cool. We'll go full Far Cry on you and attack you every 5 seconds because you're in a dangerous area.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. As far as we can go away from the quick twitch NPC, the better.
Oh, God,
the quick twitch NPC Honestly, if I'm quick twitch, that makes sense. But like Red Dead, you would bump your horse into somebody, and fucking the entire city
Yeah,
would
the
just
whole
light
town
on
would
fire.
be like, "Get out of here! You're under arrest."
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. It was crazy. So I would love it if they calm that down a little bit. Maybe just threats your way if you're doing something stupid versus physical. The instant gunfire of Far Cry. I don't want that, man. I hope. I'm gonna assume they won't do that. I'm just gonna go there because they didn't really do it in Witcher. So I don't think they'll do it here.
It seems like why The Witcher was so great and what seems to be so great about Cyberpunk is there's like this set of rules in the universe that keep it believable, but like doesn't allow it to go so far off track. Sorry, I hit the mic. It doesn't go so far off track though that you'll have moments like that where Rockstar games are. I mean, it's why it's popular. You will bump into someone and you will have that organic interaction. Which one of my highlights of Red Dead Redemption 2 I'll always remember was I bumped into someone and it was the sheriff and he had to walk me out of town. And it wasn't just like a simple bump in, like I taunted him afterwards and whatnot just to see what would happen. And he actually, like, instead of just pulling his gun, he's like, come on, follow me. And I ignored him. He's like, I'm gonna give you the count of 3 if you don't follow me. Like, I'm gonna have to arrest you. And then like I just walked out of town with him and then he like said something when he kicked me out. He said, don't come back for a while now. And like, I had to wait a while before I felt like I should be able to come back. It was an organic moment. Cool. And those games are kind of built off of that. But I like how I think the reason RPGs are so good is because there is that rule set there. It's about how can you break the rules, essentially. So we'll see.
I mean, and also I just think they're gonna have to make it feel different, even though it's all cityscape. So my hope is that if this is more dangerous, then maybe the bumping into somebody, you get a couple threats, almost like the sheriff, but they pull a gun if you continue to be an ass. And then you go into the city maybe, and bumping into people's normal in a city. You go into a major city, as you live in one. You bump into people all the fucking. And sure, people are assholes, but most of the time they're not all pulling guns. So it's like it would be sort of cool if you had different social rules even. I would love that. I don't think I've ever seen a game that took different social rules into account in different locations. It'd be very cool to be in the urban areas bumping into people and they're just like, hey, fuck you, man. But then you go to that, you go to this down and out place, there's less people, but when you do bump into them, they take it personal. It'd be fun to see the dichotomy there.
Yeah, like a different reaction based off where you are. I feel like you'd see that more in a Rockstar game. Because I think if I remember correctly, in the original Cyberpunk gameplay, there like you had to kind of cut through a crowd, and it was sort of like typical first person walking through a crowd, like you just kind of were like clipping,
or like Hitman, where he just sort of smooths.
You're sort of just sidestepping everybody. So we'll see in due time. That'll be next week on when is the 30th? I think a Friday. Yes, a week from today as we record this. So we'll be talking about it on the podcast.
Feel like it's gone forever. Or maybe it's just me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's because, for me, it was mainly because...
Keep talking, I'm grabbing something.
No, you're good. For me, it was mainly because July was such a slow month for my channel, and I had played The Outer Worlds in the middle of July, and I couldn't upload anything for it until August. So for me, the end of July into this month, and then I had the Borderlands 3 event, and then I was away, where it's been and I've been working on this project, like, I've had my head in a million and one places, like, it's been such a snail's pace, which I actually have liked, because when you're doing that many things at once, you're usually like, where the hell did the time go? But I feel like I've managed it well. So it has gotten pretty slow though.
I don't know what it is. And maybe it has also been a little slow for mine because I haven't done too many reviews or something like that. But it just feels like when you said the 30th, I was like, next Friday? Seriously? It feels. I have something to look forward to in October, now that I think about it. Whenever I look forward to shit, it takes longer.
Oh, yeah.
So that might be it, too. Yeah. So now that I think about it, that might be it, too.
No, that's the thing. I think it feels slow because I would be one of the few people I feel to say that so far 2019 hasn't been, like, the greatest year for gaming. Like, it's not a bad year by any stretch of the imagination. There's been a number of great titles, like Resident Evil 2 Remake comes to mind for me and a lot of folks. But, like, I haven't had, like, last year where I played a game and I was like, yes. Oh my God, yes! Like my favorite game of this year right now is Dragon Quest Builders 2. I just beat it recently, but like that's obviously it's a really fun game. It's a really cute game. It's got charm. There's a reason I really like it, but that number one right now is on any other year in the past. Like I'd say 3 to 4 is probably a number 4 or 5. Like it's not a definitive number one. Like And number 2, Rage 2. It's one of the most fun games I've played, but as time has gone on, I know that game could definitely get like moved around a list pretty easily. None of those are really set in stone.
It's been a weird year. I like a lot of the games, but I don't love many of them.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I think it's feeling slow, because the fall is really I don't want to say our hope, because I'm not disappointed, but the fall looks like the part of the year where it's like, okay, we got Borderlands, we got The Outer Worlds, we got the new Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Like, we got so much stuff going on, big games. It's like, okay, maybe we'll actually see something that makes us go, wow. Like, that's what I've been looking for. Or Death Stranding, which we'll talk about right now, Karak. So, Death Stranding got a pretty significant look. I wouldn't even call it significant, but we got a lot more than we usually did for Death Stranding at Gamescom. A number of trailers. One was explaining the baby, which seems to be this source of connection. I will pull up a article right up that sort of explains what the game's about in the meantime. But we learned that you could pee and that you couldn't see Norman Reedus' dick. They spent some real stage time actually clarifying that.
Clarifying it very clearly, yeah.
Which I thought was one of the weirdest things. They showed Jeff Keighley was a model in the game. Mm-hmm. They showed you scaling a cliff using a ladder. And they showed your character falling off this kind of cliff and
with
receiving
some of the worst physics I've ever seen in a AAA game too, by the way. When he falls, did you see that video?
Yeah.
When he
absolutely.
falls, it's bad. I'm hoping the rest of the game isn't like that. But yeah, man, I don't know. I have no clue what's going on in the game. You pee to save. If you all pee on the same, or if like multiple characters or something pee on the same mushroom, something magical happens, he said. I was just reading this watching this the entire time. I be honest, for me, I left much less interested in Death Stranding than I had been
100%
prior. And it really was not a good showing. Also, Jeff Keighley, I just want to add, he's added as a model. I was fairly disappointed he was not the voice actor.
That was strange, yeah, Matt Mercer for him.
Right, and I don't think Jeff Keighley has... You know how some people have a voice that you identify and go, that's blah, 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 that's this person? I don't think Jeff Keighley's... He doesn't, and I would have loved... I mean, I know he's a fan, so you know what? If you're going to put him in your game, I would have much rather had it be Jeff Keighley in a way. Like, that's him. Face. Yeah, like Mass Effect 3 had Jessica Chobot, right? Yeah, as the reporter who goes in your ship. It was her voice, it was her face and body. It's like... It
was her, yeah.
I found it odd that and maybe he just isn't a very good voice actor, which is fine, but I would have liked it for him as a fan.
So, Shinobi602, friend of the show's guest a couple of times. He actually posted a article from Games Radar, and the tweet from Shinobi says, I understand more about Death Stranding in 2 paragraphs than I have in the past 3 years. So I'm going to read that because it helped me understand it a little bit, and I think it could propel our discussion a little bit. And I'll express some of my disappointment in the presentation itself later on. The thing that really stood out to me was just how simple the game is at its core. Death Stranding is a game about walking as Sam Porter Bridges, or as you probably know him, Norman Reedus, trapped in the Uncanny Valley. You are tasked with walking from the east coast of America to the west, reactivating various communication nodes along the way in an effort to spread a message of hope to a nation that has become fragmented and disconnected, taking the idea of unity to pockets of isolated populace that trades in ambivalence rather than love. That is Death Stranding. And so you will retrace the steps of Emily, daughter of the President of the United Cities of America, who embarked on her own east to west journey with a convoy sometime before the game kicks into gear. She did this in an attempt to establish a network of communication relays across the country, a network that could deliver a message of unity from her mother, Bridget, who also happens to be on death's door. That message is that every problem in the world needn't be solved by force. Instead, it is hope that can bring us all together.
So the main plot line, I'm assuming, will be uncovering what happened to her, because she obviously wasn't successful.
Yeah, but you know what look, I know it's not going to be this bad, but you know what it does kind of remind me of, like following the footsteps of someone, uncovering what happened years ago. Fallout 76. I'm sorry, it really.
Oh, does Fallout 76 have that as its?
Yeah, you kind of follow the footsteps of the Overseer from the vault, and you literally like trace their adventure and do what they couldn't. And this narrative structure, it doesn't sound as bad, but like it's structure wise, like I said, it sounds really reminiscent of that. And like I don't want folks to understand me because while I'm not the biggest Kojima lover of his games, rather, I don't mind him as a person. I'm saying, yeah, I don't think his story will be as bad as that, but I just want to make sure folks know I'm seeing a bit of a connection there.
I think what I saw, we have seen a little bit of combat at one time in a different trailer where they were swinging stuff, and like it was even hard to understand what was going on there. We saw the motorbike shooting, we saw the motorbike, we saw the ladder. We also see these really open, green, almost Scottish-looking fields all the time, with like always the mountains on the edges and like him in the grass and stuff like that. It does feel like it's going to be one of those games that I think a lot of people are just going to find boring. Not because it is boring. It may be for a lot of people, but I mean, it is. If it's about walking, it's going to be him trying to get you to emote through that, or trying to emote through those characters, make you feel something.
Yeah.
I could
and
see
it could be about
being,
how you explore rather than what you discover,
and what it's like being alone, other than this baby. Because that's really what it seems like, is Ritas, for the most part, is alone or being attacked and sometimes talking to people on computers. So it might be one of those solitary titles. And there are really good solitary. I mean, Nier Automata is sort of lonely when you play that game.
Yeah,
even though you have the
companion.
Yeah, and you've got the little town with a couple people in it, but it's like it is just sort of you and your companion. That's what it feels like this is you.
I
and
also
this
think
baby.
of Shadow of the Colossus, very lonesome title there.
Did you also notice that the baby is basically a car alarm? I brought it up in my stream, and people got so mad. They were like, it is, but it's a car alarm. So you bump the baby too loud, and he literally cries like a car alarm goes, whoop, whoop, whoop. The baby literally goes, whoop, whoop, whoop. And then you have to shake it, which is creepy all by itself, but you basically have to shake its fluid to get it to calm down.
I literally,
it's gonna be
I was
weird.
watching that part of the stream, and I said when I was watching it live on Twitch, I said, I bet there are parents right now watching this and going, if only it were that easy. To just
no shit,
shake
right?
a kid and go, okay, he's done crying.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I swear to God, it looked almost like Norman was breastfeeding the baby by plugging him into a suit. Like, it's going to be, I have a feeling for a lot of people, it's just going to be too far out there. Like, legit too far out. Not even hating it, just being like, what in the hell is even occurring right now?
Yeah, and I think that's why Metal Gear was allowed to get a little weird at time, because even if you didn't like that part, you could still get involved in the gameplay. And I don't think this game has that gameplay to carry it. And I imagine it's going to be a lot like Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't know if anyone else shares this feeling that I have, but that was my game of the year last year. I still stand by it. Still love that. It was an experience, though. I don't go back to Red Dead Redemption 2 because the way the story was delivered, how step by step it was, very methodical. It was a very long 80-hour adventure. And look, I've replayed really long games before, but this one was the way the story was delivered. It was not like I need to go back and experience that again, right? It was like that was an experience, and I will always carry that with me because it was a good experience. It was a great experience. And I feel Death Stranding may be that. It is an experience. If it's good. And the reason I give that benefit of the doubt is it is Kojima. And while I may not be the biggest fan of all of his games like a lot of people are, I know you build that pedigree for a reason, and that people, not everyone's just blindly following it. But I will say I'm in the same page as you, or on the same page as you, rather, where I walked away from Gamescom less interested in this game. I thought the first 8-minute trailer that they posted a couple months ago really got me involved. I was like, okay, like I'm interested. Like I felt like there were the right teases there to get me intrigued in the universe and get me involved, but keep me clueless enough to know that the full game will deliver hopefully something that explains everything. But when I saw this, man, I just couldn't help but get pissed. And I want to know if you feel the same way on one aspect, because like I just went on a little bit of a monologue about, I know Kojima deserves his love and his care. A lot of that love spawned from his games. A lot of that was fueled further by the whole situation with Konami, which was super unfortunate and awful. And we're all happy he's out of there and he's doing better for himself. And there was really a rally around Kojima at that point, but it feels like the page hasn't turned. And the reason I mention this is because you see during this Gamescom presentation with Jeff Keighley that 25 developers hit that stage, and each of them were introduced business as usual. Here's this person, here's that person. And when it came to Kojima, first he entered the building, there was an announcement, and then when he hit the stage, it was a big trailer introduction, and then a huge, like, everyone get up, everyone scream. And look, like I said, I don't want anyone to think I'm taking away from Kojima here. I don't want anyone to think I don't like this guy. I don't want anyone to think he doesn't deserve it, or I wish worse on him. I just wish that there was that same level of love and respect given to all the developers, because while Kojima works hard, so does every single one of these people in the industry. I don't think anyone wakes up and goes, and especially all those games that hit the stage, there were a lot I was not interested in, especially Predator Hunting Grounds, but I don't think any of those people that came out to talk about their games were less hardworking than Kojima. Maybe they didn't have the same story of escaping the shackles of Konami. Certainly not. And yes, you earn a higher position because of all the great games you deliver. But I just really was put off by the delivery and announcement that he was coming into the show, and how there was this clear bias. And it makes me nervous for the initial game itself, because everyone was bandwagoning onto that, which fine, you like the guy. Once again, my goal is not to take away from it or ruin anyone's happiness or fun time or appreciation of the art he has created, but it's more so to shine a light that now you have to worry about a bump for this game when it comes out, because we already don't know much about the gameplay, and what we have seen of the gameplay looks weird. The story obviously does not seem does seem rather very interesting, but we don't know how much sense it will make, and so you have to wonder, will these people be the same people who are going to give it a bump of a point or two because it's Kojima, because of their love for him, because of their game for him? Because I can tell you what, right now, if anyone else was working on a title like Death Stranding and it was this vague and this confusing, you'd see a lot of people being like, uh-oh, this game's a mess, another poor showing. I don't know. It's something that's really irked me for a while, and it's something that I wanted to make a video on, but I'd rather wait for Death Stranding to come out, play it myself, make a critique of it, and see how the rest of the industry responds to this game. Not where I'm sitting there hoping this game is bad, but rather if I play it and I'm like, this isn't as great as its previous works, and you go around and you see like what you saw with Metal Gear Solid 5, where it got 10s across the board, even though a lot of people were like, hey, there's missing content, the story's not complete, the gameplay structure was great, but it could get, at least in my opinion, it could get a little repetitive, constantly going back to that same location for each mission. I'm really wondering how this game will fare in the press environment. I get a little concerned.
Yeah. No, I'm very concerned. Like, I agree. I've talked about it. That to me is, I've always been bothered when one dev gets blamed or one dev gets celebrated above others over.
And I'm guilty of it with Todd Howard. I'm guilty of it. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I'll joke about God Howard, but I cut that out like 2 years ago because I felt it didn't really represent how I believe. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But yeah, you're right.
No, that was that's actually a good point. No, it's a good point, because I don't have a connector point, so that's better than what I was going to use, which was like Peter Molyneux at the time with like Fable, where people were like, oh, but then it failed, and suddenly everybody was like, we hate Peter Molyneux. And it's like, you do realize, yes, he's definitely the director, but there were other people working on it and, as well. Like there's multiple people. They deserve celebration. They deserve this, ire, depending on it, whatever. I will also say that I'm not a huge Metal Gear fan. I like the games, but what I mean is I'm not one of those, I don't know what the term would be, a metalhead,
diehards. I don't know.
Yeah, and I looked at his scores in the last couple days, and I looked at him today, and his Metacritic, I think that indicates, really good games, definitely deserves being celebrated. Awesome that he got out of Konami. Hopefully other people did too, because that's another thing. We always just talk about him leaving Konami. It's like,
very good point.
There's other people that might have had the same shit as him. Have we looked at where they went? Did they go with him? Which is very cool as well. And then
I think a couple did.
I think so too. And then put it all together and see what the game is. But what I do feel that there's a really high chance of both of the things happening. A huge bump, as well as way overblown expectations. And
yeah.
I know a couple reviewers that I can tell you in the back of my head, just thinking about them feeling bad about giving it a bad score. I legitimately know some where I know that they will. Like, I'm not questioning that they wouldn't. I'm saying I bet you they would legitimately feel bad. It's no longer a review of the game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you're
personal.
reviewing yeah, and to me that's really creepy. That's like next level creepy when you're reviewing the person versus your $40 is this, because you and I may know him, but somebody who's getting into gaming tomorrow will see this in a month or so and go, "Hey, I'm going to get this." He won't know, or he or she won't know, and they'll get into it, and they need to be told if the game is actually good versus just crazy pants, or just bad. So it's going to be, I think, honestly, it'll be one of the most divisive titles in years. Like, legit divisive.
I'm getting that
really.
feeling, yeah.
Yeah, where people will be, I don't understand it. And then, sometimes the developer will pretend there's a mystery when there isn't just because they didn't get to put all the game in. I wonder if some of these things will just be like, we didn't answer you. You just have to figure it out yourself. When in real life, you'll be questioning in the back of your head, was it just not was this question just not answered because they just didn't answer it, which we've seen in games too. But with him, he'll get away with it more, I think, because that's what it's not only what he's done on purpose, but it's also what he's known for, is these kind of mysteries. So it's going to be divisive, man. There's the first, and I will tell you to be Legend of Zelda. If somebody gives that game a poor score, it is going to be, and a poor score being, dude, I don't even know if a 7, I think an 8 is going to trigger people. If you use a number,
it's like
score.
You couldn't have just given it a 9, bro.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
I bet you it's gonna be one of those ones where it's like just forum posts after forum posts of people just being legit angry because the game got an 8.
It's intimidating for people like us.
Yeah, when you have to go into that and be like, okay, here we go. And I admit, I sort of get off on it. I'm like, all right, man, let's see what you have. Let's see if you've got a good burn for me because I didn't like a game you didn't, or you liked,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's sort of embarrassing because so many people worked on that game. So many people are working on these games, and it's like you cut it down to just one person. It's like, what about the for example, graphics? The graphics look really good, except for the falling animations, but the graphics look really good. I will personally probably celebrate the graphics as looking good, even if I don't like the game. So it's like,
it's being critical.
Yeah, people need to take that away, too, and say, okay, so the game didn't pan out, but man, look at this. This is what's available today on this PlayStation 4. What are we going to get with the Xbox XXL and the PS5? Like, we're going to get some crazy shit. And that should be a reason to celebrate it all by itself. So, yeah, it's going to be weird, dude. It's going to be a minefield, I have a feeling, for that game.
Yeah, unless it's like everyone's on the same page. That's usually where if everyone's given 8s, we'll say.
Have we seen that? I guess Red Dead probably was somewhere around there, right? Red Dead 2?
Yeah, I didn't see really anyone deliver low on Red Dead from what I saw.
Controls, I saw, was a major complaint because of input lag, which was definitely there.
The one from Remedy?
I'm sorry, no, Red Dead 2. There were some
Control. Sorry, I thought you just said Control. I was like, wait, they're out already?
Yeah, no, sorry. On Red Dead 2, there was some input lag.
Yeah, it was like it had its issues.
But it
like,
still got
as you
scores.
would say, it controlled like a bag of
water
vinegar dicks or something like that.
Yeah, vinegar soaked dicks. So it'll be cool, dude. It'll be cool to see like what those scores are. It's just going to be an interesting look into the industry, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it's handled. All right, moving on. Battlefront 2 is bouncing back, it seems. We got a lot of new content coming to this game. I know a lot of us have taken it off our radar in interest of other products, but I'll be honest, guys, I played it a couple months ago. It was fun. I still stand by my word that buried underneath all the initial crap like the star cards and whatnot was a much better game than the first one. It added on to it. Even if the campaign wasn't good, there was more of that. And I think that this update, if you have not heard it yet, will catch your attention. So this is the rise of the Skywalker season content that was announced. It brings the Clone Commando class. The Commando class was in Battlefront 2. It was the guy with the minigun. But the Clone Commandos in this one look straight out of Republic Commando. It is fresh. They announced a brand new 4-player co-op mode that pushes players to capture objectives for either the Republic or the Separatists in prequel maps. There's 5, so you'll be rotating through those 5. I don't know exactly what the name of the mode is. When I looked it up, it was just called a co-op mode. What else do we have here? October.
Real quick, I got to ask you one thing about
on.
co-op mode. Is any of this PvE or is it all PvP? I just want to...
PvP.
Okay, great.
Well, actually, I'll have an answer to that in a second because October and December feature special events currently unknown. And as always, skins are coming to the game, but instant action is back as well. And now you said, are they PvE? And instant action is going to have that co-op mode as well. So technically,
cool.
the entire game is going to have PvE now, it seems.
Awesome.
Like full on, pick up, like, for those of you who have never played the original Battlefront games, which I still highly recommend to this day, even if I do enjoy DICE's Battlefront 2, pretty much what happens is you pick a map and it shows the modes that are supported on that map. So, for example, if you were to pick, I think it's Tatooine, it is Tatooine in Battlefront 2, the original from Pandemic, you'd see, like, heroes versus villains. You'd see Conquest. You'd see, like, Hunt. But you wouldn't see, like, XL Hunt unless it was Kashyyyk. So each map was built with, like, a specific design and mode in mind. And so you're going to see that come into Battlefront 2. Now, Karak, I remember you telling me before the podcast that you didn't know about these updates and stuff.
Yeah,
and, like, I was like, all right, I'll read them all for you during the show. What do you think about all of these updates? Does anything catch your interest enough? I mean, obviously, you and I are entering a busy time. It's a little bit harder now to go back and mess around with these games, but does anything here just catch your interest enough where you might want to give it a look?
The reason why I asked about PvE probably would, and what I mean by that is co-op PvE. I love like if there's a mode there that, let's say, you can grab 4 commandos and maybe just go against bots and stuff like that, as well as other people's fine too. But what I like is anything I can return to with a group of people where you're not getting just destroyed because everybody else is they're the masters. That's the dude with the fucking prestige character with 18 little medals next to his name, and you go against him, you're just like, this is horrible.
Right.
So it's really going to depend on how the modes are flexible. If they're flexible and there's some stuff there for newcomers or people like me who are returning, this would be the first time I've returned since it was out. So that is what I'll check into. I'll verify, like, what, if they're even caring, because they don't have to care about somebody like me. They can just be all PvP. I'm not going to hold it against them. But if they're not, then yeah, I will return to it, because we do random games, and it's just like, that would be a fun. It looked amazing. It had some really fun shooting. It just had horrendous issues when it was released.
Yeah.
And so
balance was an issue, and the campaign sucked.
Balance and all the weird micro things that were coming up. So yeah, definitely interests me for sure.
Yeah,
I really like those games.
Yeah, the first one I still stand by. I don't like that game. The first Battlefront was
first Battlefront. What was that? 360?
DICE. From DICE, I'm talking. That was PS4, Xbox One.
Okay, PS4, Xbox One.
Yeah, I mean, there was almost twice or 3 times a Battlefront game on the 360 and PS3. There was the canceled Battlefront 3 from Free Radical when it moved on from Pandemic to them. There was a $20 Xbox Live Arcade version of Battlefront that got leaked and had full gameplay and like a trailer, and it never came out. That one looked really good too. So those were 2 times I remember, and so that's why when the first Battlefront was supposed to come out, I remember rejoicing, and I played the shit out of that beta, and I was hyped for that game, man. Like, I thought it felt good, but like when you got the full game, you realized half of what I had already played was the beta. Oh my god, one of the most just hollow products I've ever purchased. Really disappointing.
What was the one for the Xbox? That was, you could do the Galactic Conquest and stuff. And
that was the original Battlefronts.
That one was, we would put Xboxes together at the same house, and you would do the network, and that was one of the most fun and just straight up enjoyable. I love seeing lasers hit metal. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But the sparks, and my brain lights up, and I'm like, it's fucking 4th of July all the time, and just that feeling of like you against stormtroopers. Yeah. If it can capture that, I'll be right back to it.
Man, that's the thing, is they're inching closer, like day in, day out, to getting that Galactic Conquest in. Because as far as I'm concerned, they've checked off every
other thing.
And they have to be working towards it, because it wouldn't make sense otherwise. Because they're, why after all, like, it's ever since the first one, that's always a question they get. Are you doing Galactic Conquest? The second one, is this one going to have Galactic Conquest? And now in the post-launch content, you're bringing in instant action. You're trying to tell me that you're not going to do that? Like, I don't think they've ever said they're not going to, but I think it was a tech thing. And I think what they want to do with Galactic Conquest, their vision was, obviously they have such a powerful graphics engine, but to transition between the space fighting and ground combat seamlessly,
gotcha.
and that just, I think, is totally next gen. I think to maintain that fidelity and be able to expand the environment that much, that's tough.
There's a Steam game that you can buy called Angel's Fall, and that's what it is you can have up to 64 people, and you can get in spaceships, fly around, then you can land on the ground, and you can fight.
Wow.
And it's, dude, the technology for that it's stupid. Like, the requirement to get it all... Well, look at Star Citizen's trying to do it. Like, the requirement for that shit is just... And the engine, their engine looks so good.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, or man, like Ewok, whatever that one map is, and it's just like the forest. Everything is so fucking awesome, and you're hoping that like Galactic Conquest is the next thing they announce. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why they're holding off. I don't know. Like
I
you
think
said,
it's
maybe
because
tech.
it's not. I think they could probably make an artificial version, kind of like all you have to do, in my opinion, is similar to the original Battlefront, Galactic Conquest. You have a sky they show with a map, and you just have dots connecting all these planets, and each planet you go to just starts a battle. Really, all it is instant action with a little flair.
Exactly.
I think all they need to do is provide the proper. Because with Galactic Conquest, the little currency, like you could get credits, and then you could spend those credits on, you could say reinforcements. So if you go down to 50 fighters, you go back up to 100. Or you could spend it on a Jedi commander, and they would join the battle, and you could turn the tides if you were losing because he had so much power. I feel like they just had to add that set of things in there, and I think that's what holds them back. But also, I feel it's that vision of why do just Galactic Conquest, where if the two ships collide, because for those who don't know, you have one ship on one end and one ship on the other of this map, and they start navigating around and fighting for planetary control. And the only time space battles happen is if two ships collide, and then you engage in a space combat, and you send the opponent back to the beginning of the map, and you start navigating and taking over. And the point of Conquest is to defend the planets your opponent attacks, and then attack the ones that they own. And I don't see why it's so tough for them to do unless they have a grander vision, personally.
Nah, and it's so cool. It's such a cool mode that it seems like there has to be something holding them back. Like, it's not just them being like, we're going to be jerks and not do it. Yeah. They know it would work. So, obviously, like you said, it's probably some kind of tech. But hopefully they're working towards it, because that would cause me to be almost instantly.
It would turn heads, and they know it.
Yeah, yeah. At the very least, it would instantly cause me to look at it again. Like, above any of this, if they said that, I'd be like, all right, I'm checking it out again.
Because I imagine, when would the next Star Wars movie be coming out? The big one would be 2021. You support this one into... Actually, no, I think new content's coming in 2020 as well. I wonder if Battlefront 2 is just going to remain like a platform for constant
updates. Deliver the updates through the same graphics engine, the same game, basically. Yeah.
Because I imagine all this, by the way, is free. You know, outside of the skins that you get, which you have to play for, or you can
true,
pay
it is
for.
Free. It is
so
free.
There has to be a player base there constantly engaging, growing, and also probably purchasing some of like the cosmetic microtransactions. It's got to be there where they want to continue to push it and trust that it'll be maintained. And so I just feel like, are you gonna move on to a third Battlefront? I don't know. There's a lot already there.
I would, with the graphics looking as good as it is, I would be okay with them just delivering most of it, unless that was stopping Galactic Conquest.
It's just funny because Battlefront is one of those series that would just never get to 3 again.
Yeah, true.
It would stop at 2 yet again. They're just gonna do what Pandemic did. Make 2 the best one, and then fall off the face of the earth.
And then just announce it again later on. Start all over again. I mean, look, dude, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is already doing that. So
I think what's great about this is the instant action being added, because whenever the servers do shut down years and years down the line, you still can go back and play this game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
That's very cool. So
the game will never die, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoy Battlefront 2 now, you'll always be able to experience it, which I think is really good to know, even if we're haters of it. All right.
Yeah, true.
Sony made just a tiny little purchase this last week. Small studio you may have heard of. It's called Insomniac Games, creators of Ratchet and Clank. They made Spider-Man PS4. Maybe you heard of that one. What else have they done? Oh, Sunset Overdrive. Very underrated game. So Sony, after 25 years of on and off trying to get this company, finally do it. They finally got him. And what a big get it is. You know, it's funny. Think of how long this process was. And Sony's last purchase of a studio was Sucker Punch after Infamous 2. Okay, I think that was 8 years ago. And when you look at that, and then look how Microsoft came out on stage and announced they acquired 10, and most of those developers were notable. I gotta say, man, it's pretty crazy how quickly Microsoft moved in response to what's going on. I mean, that's huge. But I don't want to take away from what's going on at Sony. Karak, initial response to this insane acquisition.
Expected.
Definitely
Right?
not surprising.
No, they were in a dance for a long fucking time, and even when they did Sunset Overdrive, I swear to shit, I could smell their dislike for working for somebody else. There was some. I'm not. And I know that's
It just felt weird.
like. It did, and I know people like that game, and I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about the company. Just hearing them even talk about their partnership with Microsoft and all that stuff, they weren't. There was something about it, and then afterwards, they would like little tweets here and there from like the designers where they were like, "No, we own Sunset. Microsoft has no." Like even their responses to questions, I just don't feel like they mesh with Microsoft. Maybe not Nintendo either. I have no clue, but they fit with Sony. And to me, there's probably no other third-party company where I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Insomniac just makes. There's
It's
nothing about it that's
crazy
surprising.
that they stayed independent for so long, especially
And they
when money
wanted
was on the
to
table. How many
continue, I
times?
bet. Yeah, I bet you they wanted to continue because the idea of being able to do a PC game. Because remember, PS4 likes to keep its stuff exclusive.
Yeah,
So-
but you know what's funny? This announcement coincides with Sean Layden. He said that Sony's got to look at expanding to other platforms, obviously being PC. I don't know
did
about
see that.
Switch. So I
did see
feel
that.
may have been a good pressure on Insomniac to be like, okay, you know, if we can get our stuff on PC too.
I did hear somebody else say that what Sony was meaning is that they're third-party exclusive shooters or something like that. There was some other person who added something. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. Dude, it's time. It's not time. They can do whatever they want. But I don't know if Insomniac would just leap. On the other hand, Spider-Man did so well that maybe they're just like,
13
listen.
million.
Yeah, maybe they're just like 13 million.
Yeah, I think 13 and a half.
Did you see that Persona has only sold
10
like
in its whole series.
10 in a total series? We just talked about that today. So yeah,
Insane.
that just goes to you. Again, Persona niche title, but it's big niche. It's almost not anymore.
Yeah.
So
there.
yeah, Spider-Man's done freakishly well. So maybe they're just like, listen, we know what we're gonna do these particular type of games, and Sony's just gonna let us do it, and it all makes sense. I don't know how much. Did they ever say how much this cost them?
No, and
Does
I
anybody
would
talk
love
about
to
money?
know. It's got to be dozens of millions.
Yeah, and I'm sure there were a bunch of outs in that too. I would not doubt, especially after Bungie had their issues with Activision, I would not doubt if every company being bought has a bunch of outs for being able to leave.
Yeah.
Now, where
Yeah.
they're like, if you don't agree or we don't agree in the next 3 years, we buy ourselves out for half the price or so. There's just shit there prepared. Prepared for that.
I think what's good about this is you're gonna see probably another Ratchet and Clank. You're gonna see another Spider-Man, of course. I think Sean Layden also said in that same statement that he's gonna see what they can do, or they're looking into what they can do about Sunset Overdrive, because I don't know where that stands. I don't know if they can take that off Xbox and put it on PS4.
They can.
Oh,
they can't
God.
take the original. They own the IP, though. They made that very clear. So, and they said,
Wow.
when they got bought, they said one of them said the only thing this proves is that we can now put all of our games on. Or what did they say? They said something. It was something to the effect of that. Games that they had done exclusive elsewhere can now be put on other systems. So
That's a
I
huge
would-
loss for Microsoft in that regard.
I don't know
as well.
I don't think Sony would want number one. I don't. I think what would happen is
Really?
Sony would say number two. Yeah, Sony would say no. I mean, number one, they'd have to go back and you're porting it. Number two, I could see Sony saying this is exclusive. No one has it. versus this is a copy of number one, and we both have it. Sony seems like a company who'd be like, we're buying you, and if you're making a new game, we want you to make the sequel of it, not
you don't view it as maybe a you know how like sometimes a third-party game would come to a Switch and it just pops off more than its initial launch because like people just missed it at the wrong time, and so people were gathering around it. You don't think that would happen with this one? Like if they were to do
definitely
Sunset
could.
Overdrive 1 on PS4?
It absolutely could. I just think they're so successful now with Spider-Man and stuff that they don't need to even try that.
That's true.
Like there's no real. I mean, even as creators, they probably don't want to port it. Maybe pay somebody to port it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they could certainly say, Sony, since you bought us, we want 20, programs.
I mean, why not? Sony just spent a ton of
Yeah.
money. Why not get another exclusive out there? Just pay another studio, port it. It's like printing money at that point. Because I mean, it's a great game. It is a really good game.
It is, but it's Sony, and Sony doesn't normally do. Sony is more like, we want our own thing only. Is why I'm saying, like,
that's true.
You know what I mean? And being like, we want number two, like improve on number one. For example, I don't know the negatives of number one, but let's say there's a negative that everybody universally said, story.
Yeah.
Then,
Especially after Spider-Man.
I was just going to say, Spider-Man story is awesome. So what if they say, listen, let's make our own superhero, which is the main protagonist of Sunset Overdrive, and let's like knock it out of the park this time.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them doing that. I mean, and that's another thing. How fast can they turn around another Superman? Will they turn it around in the same way, or will they do another superhero? Yeah, I said Superman. I meant Spider-Man.
Sorry, I was gonna let you finish your sentence.
Yeah, I figured you'd pick up on that one. But I could see Insomniac also being, Spider-Man's big, but superheroes are huge, and I think there's far more space for more superhero games than less. It feels to me like Insomniac's really good. So if they were all, we're gonna do, I don't know what other superhero, I could see them nailing something, a Deadpool or something else that's currently, awesome. And currently popular right now. Like in the movies, I could see them, or what if they fucking, all intents and purposes, but what if they matched their next game with the new Avengers that'll come out in like 3 or 4 years? They're just like on the back burner, making a true Avengers game.
I just feel whatever they work on has to have, if it's a superhero specifically, it has to have the movement. That's why
behind it.
Yeah, because Sunset Overdrive.
Oh, you mean the swinging?
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
That kind.
But like Sunset Overdrive had like wall running, high bounces. Grinding. Ratchet and Clank had a lot of jumping, strafing, grinding. Spider-Man, some of the best movement you'll ever experience in a single player game ever. Period. End of story. Movement's always been in their DNA, and they've always done it exceptionally well, to the point where it just feels good, like you get this power in your controller from going point A to point B. And so I feel a lot of that's based around the characters they've worked with, but also some of the systems they put in place. Like I mentioned, grinding, wall running, jumping.
Yeah.
There's just a good feel for that, but when it comes to Spider-Man, that's more character-driven movement. And I just feel like if they're going to continue to pick superheroes to work on, I think they're going to...
It would be one of them.
Yeah, it would have to be someone who can move. But I feel like with Spider-Man, they're creating their own... especially after what happened with Sony. If I were anyone at Insomniac, I would just double down and be like, you know what? Let's just keep our Spider-Man stuff going on here, because this can at least stay and be current, and it's not going to get erased out of nowhere. And someone's
got its own comic books.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like it's its own thing.
Oh, dude, I went to a comic book store and I saw like a huge statue of the PS4 Spider-Man there. Like he was like the front and center statue for sale. It's crazy. It's like a thing. Like there are people who haven't played the game but just experienced the comics. It's like, what?
Not in the same world, but we were talking about movement. One of the big problems with movement in superhero games is people tackling Superman. And it would be interesting to see Insomniac try that and be like, because Superman's flying. Like, what do you do? How do you do that? That would be cool.
Wasn't there a decent Superman game on the 360? I never played it, but wasn't there...
Oh, I don't know.
Superman Returns, I think it was called? Hold on. I want to see if I'm remembering correctly. Let's see what the Metacritic for that was. Superman Returns.
Because that seems to me to be one of the hardest things to nail, is like a flying superhero.
Let's see here. Let's see if I was right or wrong. This is a movie. Oh, the game. Nope. The game, it says right now on Metacritic, is for the 360, sitting at a user score of a 6, and the overall meta score is a 51.
Guess not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I also think that Insomniac's probably got at least one very original IP that they want to do too, because they're pretty creative.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it does feel like all this other. We're talking a lot about IPs we know of. I would assume that one of their biggest bets with Sony is that Sony's stated that they can at least create one thing that's just brand new. They seem like they want to do that.
Yeah. Or probably Sony was like, hey, you want to keep working on Spider-Man? Sign this.
Yeah, I mean, it is that's the one thing is we always try to pretend like everybody's not controlled by money, but Spider-Man did so well, and if you know that your developers will be taken care of for multiple years by one signature, right? Like if you're looking at all these friends and people and you're all at the end of every development, we lose 20% of our people or whatever, but Sony is saying we'll stop that from happening for the next 2 or 3 games. That could be a pretty big sell.
All right.
But I do have to just real quick say.
No,
also,
sorry.
Remember
I thought you were done. You're good. Keep going.
I was just going to say, remember, Sony did showcase Spider-Man as an indicator of the PS5's loading. Remember, they showed the speed loading. So I could certainly see them partnering directly with Insomniac for like a very fast turnaround for a new title on the PS5 too.
Right.
It seems like that was a big deal. Because remember, that was a third-party game that Sony showed as their technical introduction to the PS5.
True.
That's pretty crazy. Like, that would be like Microsoft getting, a third-party company to be at their tech, to show their new tech on their... They usually don't do that. They usually use a first-party studio. Might have been an indicator of Sony already buying Insomniac, now that I think about it.
Yeah, like if they did, I don't know. I wouldn't say,
they had
I was going to say Cuphead, but like that wouldn't make
Oh,
much
dude,
sense.
Cuphead's so good looking. Man.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's a game that I can't wait to see a sequel for that game. I really dig the animation style in that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, now we swing over, rather. Gotta use my segues properly here. To our patron questions, we have tons. We're just not even going to preface this other than if you're here right now, once more a reminder, $1 a month on the Patreon gives you early access to the show, and you can submit your comments, questions, thoughts, ideas, whatever you want us to talk about. You fire away on the Discord section there. And so let's get started with Natural Calamity. When did you think you started looking at games in a more critical manner? So when did you start critiquing? I know when I did.
I don't know.
I think for you, based off just your history, probably like you were just always critical.
Yeah, I mean, because I like graphics, and I think once you start reading about them, you're interested in them. Yeah, I would say pretty much as far as I remember. Not like balancing and discussing the idiosyncrasies, but yeah, for a long time. What about you?
See, for me, I've always been critical, but I didn't put my bias aside for certain discussions at the right times, and I didn't recognize it either properly. I'd say like early 2016. No. Mid to late 2016. Sorry. That's when I really was like, okay, I've got to just start being a little more objective. Not to the point where I'm a fun killer, but I've got to like look at the whole picture here. Even if it's a game series I really like, is there something flawed here? And it's made gaming a lot more enjoyable for me, because I feel like when I like something, it's like, okay, like I really like this despite any flaws I pick up on. I really like this.
I remember then. Yeah. That's a good point. You just pointed to, I do remember the exact game. Brute Force. I've brought it up before. The supposedly Halo killer from Xbox. I believe their hype. I got that game. That game was shit. It was utterly disappointing. And I remember from that moment on stating with my friends, I will never, ever allow myself to be burned like that again. And I'm going to start looking at like what I'm really seeing versus that excitement of getting a magazine, because that was back when magazines came. You didn't even
Yeah,
have
and you kind of miss
YouTube
those
trailer.
days to an extent.
It was-
Like,
they were nice.
The
They were
trailers
nice.
getting you excited, and I still get some trailer hype every now and then, but I cherish my Fallout 4 time because I don't think I'll ever reach that level of, unless it's KOTOR. I don't think
of like deep excitement.
Yeah,
you mean?
of just like day in, day out for like 6 months straight. I was like hype as fuck. It was insane. Like, I would leave friends' houses early to go cover the game. I won't do that now. Like, it's become more of a, and I don't say this in a bad way. It's become more of a job though. Like, I take it a lot more seriously. I'm a lot more critical of things, and my content's improved, and people have liked the direction. You know, the channel's only grown because of that, but it's just like, it's not like how it once was, where I'd see, oh, new trailer, oh my god, it's like, all right, cool. You know, let's see what we got here.
Yeah, KOTOR will always remain my number one trailer of all time too. I don't remember how many hundreds of times I watched it, but I would invite friends into my office at work because I found it on at work.
Yeah.
They show, and I was like, look at this YouTube, because YouTube was brand new. I was like, dude, look at this shit. And we were watching the cutscene when the ships fire the lasers down and destroy Tarsus at the starting. Is it Taurus or Tarsus? Do you remember? What's
Terrace.
Terrace, and they're shooting down at it. And I remember we were all just sitting there watching it, and I was just like, dude, it's for the Xbox original. It's called KOTOR, man. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Okay. Next question comes from Taylor Made. In your personal perfect gaming verse, what 2 or more gaming franchises would you meld into one? Be as specific as you want, i.e., how you'd prefer the game to work mechanically, story beats, or anything really. Though, to make your answers more interesting, try to avoid using games that are similar, like Fallout and Wasteland, or The Witcher and The Elder Scrolls. I've got a really, really good answer.
Go for it.
It just came to my mind, and I'll give credit to one of my good friends, Monty, because he originally said something like this, but I'm going to evolve this idea. I'm going to say Scooby-Doo and Phoenix Wright. I would like to see that crossover. Like that investigation process with that character cast, but then like the court scenes and that same like eccentric nature that Phoenix Wright brings to the table. I'd say Danganronpa, but that game's a lot more dark and grim, and Scooby-Doo is just not that. Scooby-Doo is more lighthearted and fun, and I think Phoenix Wright has more of that. At least the first game I played.
If not for these pesky kids,
I know, right?
Got away with it.
Which AC Denton right below this actually says Scooby-Doo open world RPG, please.
Yeah,
that's too funny. This guy's been on a Scooby-Doo kick.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that one. I don't usually. I mean, we've talked about that kind of thing before, but I don't have an answer off the top of my head for mixing. Yeah, I don't really have an answer for that one.
You wouldn't cross like Virtua Fighter with something?
No, because they did that. They had a virtual RPG. It was called, I think it was literally called Virtual Fighter RPG. And it was fucking horrendous.
Oh.
It was fucking horrendous. Yeah, and it burned me on that kind of shit. No, for some reason my brain was thinking Age of Empires, which is a RTS, but I was like, what would you mix it with? Just because I like Age of Empires. Halo did it with Halo Wars. Didn't turn out great. But, you know, the idea of an RTS in Halo, I think that was a pretty good attempt.
Okay.
But no, I don't really have any.
We got two meaty sized messages from Kettle Corn. Let's see here. I don't know which one I want to pick because they said I already asked a question this week, so feel free to skip this one. Okay, so I'm gonna do the first one then, Kettle Corn. And I like this write-up because they introduce themselves and whatnot. I think that type of stuff's cool. Like, you guys just don't have to pop in questions. Like, you can tell a story,
yeah, for sure.
and give us more to guide our discussion. So never hesitate to get detailed with this stuff. Hey, Maddie, new patron here. I was just writing in because I had some thoughts on the whole loot box conversation from last week's episode. They posted this on the 12th of August. As you guys know, we had a little bit of inconsistency because of some of my Borderlands and the Outer Worlds coverage. I listened to several gaming podcasts, and of course, all of them cover the loot box controversy that's been stirring up in the recent months, but none of the opinions I hear come from people who actually play loot box heavy games. The two main games I play more than anything is Marvel Contest of Champions and NHL Ultimate Team. God bless your soul on that second one. I feel like it's, oh, sorry, I misread. I feel like it's important to share that both of these games already display odds on all packs/crystals that you can get in games, so most likely the new regulations put into place would have little to no change on the way these games work. Being a part of these communities, I can see why see that many people love these games specifically for the loot boxes, and they really don't want things to change too much besides possibly seeing slightly better odds. The main alternative I see making the rounds is, instead of loot boxes in these specific games, have a store where you can purchase specific players, heroes with real money. Most of us are vehemently against this since it will promote a very literal pay-to-win scenario, especially in NHL since it's PvP based. So my question is, what's the solution to the loot box controversy that appeases the gamer that enjoys the RNG grind that comes into play when building a team from the ground up, as well as prevents the more casual gamers from being preyed upon? Very good question, and thank you for all the detail there, because you give us a lot to think about there. So, Karak, you got any initial thoughts?
And we can't say they shouldn't be in there at all?
No, you can. I mean, that's what they're saying. They're asking for the solution. If your solution you think is like, it should be removed, and here is why, then
yeah,
do that.
Yeah, I mean, it should. I mean, they should. They're not going to be. I'll just say that would be my fix, is that they're removed, because I mean that's the major issue. And games prior to this point showed that they didn't need to be there. So that's one of the things, is like, you can't really say they have to be, because games prior to, when this became a thing, did not have them. Other than you certainly did have games where like Diablo or something, where you kill a boss and you have a certain chance of something dropping. I don't consider that a loot bot or a loot box as much as like at the end of something, hitting a button, seeing a loot box pop open like some kind of jack-o'-lantern. But yeah, I would say there's no indication that they have to be there, so I would say remove them. And if people don't want to remove them, then the ratings, the RNG, all that stuff being written is the bare minimum that needs to happen. For sure, that it's good that's happening.
Yeah, I guess play a little bit of devil's advocate rather, just to give a different answer. Because while I agree, I'd just rather them not be there at all. I think of as I've mentioned multiple times on the podcast, I play Dragon Ball Super, the card game, and obviously when you open a pack of cards, that is RNG. Like, you just don't know what's going to be in there. It'll say on the package, it'll say this package of cards includes this many uncommons, this many commons, this many rares, this many super rares. There's so many tiers of cards, and like when you buy a booster box, you're guaranteed an SPR, which is one of the higher tier, more expensive cards, and you're digging for the secret rare, which there's only like one in a case or something like that. It's really hard to find though. And they're the most expensive of the expensive cards. And I think with that game, that's competitive. But yet, if I want anything specifically, I'll go to tcgplayer.com, thecardplayer.com, and I'll buy specifically what cards I need to build my deck. And so, in a sense, you could argue that's pay to win, but I've spent money on a deck, like building a deck, went into a store and had the floor wiped with me just because the game is balanced well. That's one thing I can confidently say about Dragon Ball Super, the card game. So part of me says, in answer to your question, Kettle Corn, that if the game's balanced well, this doesn't become an issue. Someone could buy, you used NHL as an example, someone could buy, we'll say, Dustin Brown. I don't know why he comes to mind. I can't fucking stand this guy. That's probably why. But someone could buy him. But does that make them win the game? I think it's a little different in video games, because especially in the case of Ultimate Team, where you're buying specific players, I think what would be smart is make average players available to buy, or like mid-tier players available to buy, because that's not going to push you over the top, and put challenges in place that incentivize you to play the game to unlock through play these higher tier players. Because then you have the people who can buy specific heroes or players, and then you can have that reason to continue playing. But I don't think there's really a happy medium for this. I think it's, I'm not calling you foolish, Kettle Corn, but I think it's just foolish to think that these two groups of people, who don't mind the RNG grind, which I sort of understand. Like I said, I play a game that involves unpackaging cards. Like, there is RNG in that, and I don't do it this way, but there are people who love playing what's called like draft leagues. So you literally get a draft box at a card store, and you play for 6 hours with just cards that you pull out of that draft box. So you hope you get lucky. It's a complete RNG. If you are very lucky, you're good to go. So ultimately, I don't think there's a way to satisfy both parties. I think ultimately what's best for the industry is if these aren't there, because you can supplement that RNG grind in so many different ways. So many
Also, I
different ways.
think you and I play a different kind of thing. I do Mage Knight, you do cards. The big difference between what we do and what's going on in video games is we get a physical product that we can resell. And
Very true.
I think that when this discussion comes up, sometimes people forget, because I'll be like, I see this in all these sports, and then I realize I'm holding a Mage Knight, and I'm like, oh, I can go to eBay. I think if a game is going to do it, they need to figure out a way somehow, and this is, I don't know how they would do it, but almost where you could sell back.
In Ultimate Team...
yeah, there are some games you can sell back, right?
In Ultimate Team, you can resell, but it's for in-game currency. You could buy the packs with in-game currency or real money, but if you bought it with real money, you could only resell it on the game's marketplace for in-game currency.
There isn't any that we know of where, like, you open up a bag. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, it would almost be
I
like...
agree, though. That's a good point. Like, you guys can see... Actually, I don't know. I think the picture's too small, but, like...
But you have cards right
here.
there.
This is all stuff.
And I have Mage Knight all over my room, but they're real, you know? Like,
exactly, and this is stuff I can sell or build with, and...
Or
as you can see, I'm in a building process.
It sounds dumb, but if I feel... When I have a HeroClix, I'm like, it's tangible. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's there. And then I start to think it's valued a little bit more. I'm like, okay, this is there. Like, even if it's not what you were saying, you get the box that says uncommon, common, rare. That's what I get with it. Literally states on the back, and you might get an uncommon, but it looks cool physically. And so then there's something that it's outside of the game. You can use it. You could put it on a mantle if that's what you want to do. You could put it in your little glass case. So there's these other uses, and I think with games, one of the big issues is if I turn that little monitor off, that thing I got is literally not there. It's like, you know, it's in a magical land that exists only through my computer screen, and that's the portal in which I can interact with it. And I would love to, you know, I told you I like Skylanders. Skylanders let you print out your characters on a 3D printer, so you can push a button, you can buy them or get their printout and then print it at your house. And there's something about that too, just having it. But yeah, it's difficult because they're there, dude. I don't think either one of us believe, like a tick, they're gonna get burrowed out. Mm-hmm. I mean, micros seem like, and loot boxes seem like they're there, even if, you know, they're slightly adjusted to make people happier.
Yeah. Holzer19 asks, what game franchise has done the best job of adapting and changing with the times?
Madden, because it hasn't. No, I don't know. It really
you said that with such confidence. I believed you for a second. I'm like, Madden.
But how do you change like, it's football? It's not gonna, like, the next day it's not gonna be fucking, you know, like guns and shit. So like over the years?
I'll say Zelda. That comes to mind right away.
Oh, true.
I'll say Zelda.
Well, you know, another good one is also Nintendo is Mario.
Yeah.
Even though I know you said you weren't
as in the right ways.
Yeah, and you weren't as in love with what was it? What was this last one? Odyssey?
Yeah.
But still, when you see 2D Mario, and then you see, like, Mario for the 64, and then you see, you know what I mean? Like, Zelda's the same way, yeah. Breath of the Wild was, even though I didn't love it, is just incredible. And I know a lot of people.
I feel like Mario less so just because there was always a sense of openness, like in Galaxy or Sunshine. Yeah. There was these bigger levels to explore, and Odyssey sort of just grew that.
Made it bigger.
Exactly. Whereas, like, Zelda went full on open and adjusted at the right time for the right crowd, and did it in the right ways and made it very dense. And that's a game that I liked a lot when I first beat it and played it. But my girlfriend has like 90 hours in it now, and she like just keeps finding new stuff in it. And I'm like watching from afar, just appreciating the game more and more because I didn't realize when I played it, I beat it in like 50 hours and I was done with it. I was like, all right. But she just keeps digging and digging and digging and finding new stuff. And it's like, wow, this is an insanely well-crafted game. It's crazy.
I also think it's hard to guess an IP that's changed too long because there's not a lot of tons of sequels for a lot. I mean, some, Call of Duty, but you're not going to say that's changed.
I would also say, I'd say Persona. Persona 4 is one of my top 3 games of all time, but I can even admit that there's certain aspects about that game that it doesn't start off as quickly. The the autosave system is just not there. It's not that good. The dungeon design isn't inspired. The side requests suck. And I think Persona 5 managed to really like make everything better in every single way. The dungeons were bigger and deeper than ever. Combat
but it was
better.
Also more accessible at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It still maintained that depth of like social links and gameplay elements being tied there, and exploration and choice and consequence in a meaningful way that wasn't just like, how does your story branch? I think that was another series that really adapted well. Instead of like digging its heels in and going, no, we're staying the same. They like changed in just the right ways. Really well crafted game.
Yeah, I don't think Oh, okay. No, it didn't grow. It didn't really adjust, but I will say the Forza series with Horizon, that was a huge change.
Yeah.
Because we went from sim heavy, even though I know people say it's not a sim, they tried to do it regardless if they hit it, but they were sim heavy. They were like all these tracks and tight, and then suddenly, I still remember when Forza Horizon was first announced going, what? Like, that doesn't, and then it is eclipsed Forza so much for me. The original Forza, and I still
think more
like
people
those,
care about Horizon than...
I would say you're right. And if you had said that 6 years ago, I just don't think you would have the same thought process. Like, it just wasn't the same thought process. But they've done such a good job. Such a good job adjusting.
Yeah. Destroy the Grave asks, what are some other gaming podcasts or any other podcasts you listen to? I listen to, I used to listen to Kind of Funny Games Cast. I don't really enjoy that as much anymore. I'm going to be honest, I don't like their takes at all. I don't feel there's a critical nature to that. So I shifted over to Sacred Symbols, Colin Moriarty's podcast with Chris Raygun, and, Colin was a guest on our podcast, and I guested on his Fireside Chat. So if you want to take what I say with a grain of salt, be my guest. But I thoroughly enjoy their show. I think they have a good blend of critical and laughing, even if they get a little dire at times. Some of their dark humor is pretty out there, but they're a good bunch to listen to, and they're mostly the main gaming podcast I tune into. Usually just because I only listen to podcasts in the car. I don't really listen to music that often when I'm in the car. I don't listen to it when I'm at home, because when I'm at home I'm doing something or talking to someone, so I don't really need a podcast on in the background.
Yeah, I have zero. I would agree with what you said about Kind of Funny. No disrespect or anything, but like it's definitely been really hard in the last couple of years. It's gone off the rails to where I'm just like, I don't know. I used to listen to One Up Yours, which was easily my favorite of all time with Garnet Lee, and all those guys have separated and done other things. I don't listen to any. Do you know what happens? It's a game. So if a game is being covered, that's when I listen. And it can be to anybody. So if they're like covering, so for Death Stranding, if somebody has something really interesting, what's the zombie one we played? Days Gone.
Right.
Multiple people covered Days Gone after its release, and I've listened to a couple. I don't follow any of them, but like I'll find, somebody will say, hey, these guys covered Days Gone and they had this experience. Sometimes I'll just be like, well, that'll be interesting, but there is no single. I don't think I'm even subscribed to a single podcast. I've listened to Colin's multiple times. I like his stuff, but I'm not subscribed to almost any anymore. And it's
like,
more.
I'm not like a
me,
super consistent listener to anyone else, because like I run my own podcast, so I don't really need to listen to. Not that I don't want to. I do, because I feel like once you close those walls around you and you start doing your own shit, like you don't move with the times as well, or note stuff that as a listener you go, I don't like that much, or I like this more, and you sort of reinforce your approach to your podcast, or take a more clear approach to your podcast rather. But yeah, I don't listen to them a ton, because like I said, I'm in the car usually, very little, so it's like.
And you can't compress their time, Matty. Like so you can compress a video by clicking forward, but a podcast I can't see what they're showing or anything. So it's like, if it's 2 hours, if it's 2 hours, it's fucking 2 hours. Like you're like, I need to take 2 hours out of my time to listen, and I like to listen. I don't like to just have it on in the background.
Right.
So it's definitely difficult to do.
All right, rapid fire time. We're gonna do this because a couple of people in the podcast questions said, you know what, no one's gonna do this, but we're gonna go through Mike Fury's 15 questions.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I was right.
We're rapid firing this, by the way. I don't want you to explain any of your answers. Okay.
Okay.
This is what you get, Mike. What is the best video game you got for Christmas?
Phantasy Star 1.
Mass Effect 2. Number 2, favorite video game villain? Malik.
Doc Ock.
Oh, cool. TV show, number 3, TV show that would make excellent video game.
Battlestar Galactica.
I don't watch enough TV. All right, 4.
Yeah, you don't.
If you could meet any 2 people, one dead and one alive, who would they be? I'd like to meet my grandpa. I know that's kind of a sad answer, but I'd like to meet my grandpa. I never got a chance to.
You never got a chance to. And then the one alive.
Akira Toriyama. I like Dragon Ball.
Mine would be Bruce Lee, and the other one dead would be Leonard Nimoy, and then I'd like to meet William Shatner, even though he'd probably be a dick. I'd love to.
Number 5, one video game franchise that you think can take it to the next level. Any of them. Anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have an answer to that.
Number 6. Number 6, what is a game mechanic that you would borrow from one video game that would work perfectly in another, since the Outer Worlds borrowed kind of VATS from Fallout?
So one mechanic in one game that we want in another game.
I would like to see baton passing from Persona in like every turn-taking RPG.
In every game.
Yeah.
In every game possible.
Just targeting weaknesses and passing the baton. I really like that.
I don't have an answer. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Here's an easy one. What state should the next Fallout be in?
State? Oh,
State.
Oregon, like
Yeah,
50
like a state.
states?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
I'm going to say... Oh, man, hold on.
It's funny, I was going to say Alaska, but they did, and the reason why is because I like the Anchorage DLC. Remember that deal? Was it for 3 or whatever? They had like Anchorage.
Yes.
Yeah. I would love a snowy location. Like
I'm going to say
snowy.
Pennsylvania because I want it to be in Philadelphia. That's just too fitting. Too fitting. If you could combine 2 video game franchises together, what would they be?
We just tried that.
Yeah.
You already gave your answer. I don't have an answer for that one.
Number 9, what is the cutest female video game character? Karak can't use shopkeeper in DMC 5.
Oh, easy then. Chloe from Longest Journey, Dreamfall. God damn, she's smoking.
Bastila Sean. Hell yeah.
Oh, I was like, what? Yeah.
Anything I could throw KOTOR in. Easy answer. Have you guys played the new free game on Steam called Steel Circus? No.
No.
Favorite book of all time?
Dragonlance, Dragons of Autumn Twilight.
Flow. Favorite comic book of all time? Mine is the entire X-23 collection.
And mine is the entire Batman, or the Detective Comics.
Oh, yeah. Those are great. 13, do you think that schools would incorporate video games into learning? Imagine a VR game where you play as a founding father who signs the Declaration of Independence. Boom, A+ in history class.
Yes, we do it already in Oregon. Everywhere.
I was going to say, I think that's already happening. So, get with the times, Mike.
Yeah, what the hell's your problem, man? No, I'm just
if you were born in any era where video games didn't exist, when would it be? The 40s.
Probably right at the turn of the century, right at 1900s. Do you know what we could do with the knowledge we have right now? Do you know the sheer debauchery we could live in? The amount of money we could make in the 1900s?
Dude, if we showed up with a $20 bill, we'd be fucking rich.
Dude, yeah, just like, what, they're like, I don't know how to do electricity, and you're like, give me a second. It's like some of the shit you can
just plug this in.
Oh, dude.
A song, last one, a song that when it comes on, you are stopping what you are doing, and you are either dancing alone or dancing. Oh, I'm sorry, I misread this. A song that when it comes on, you are either stopping what you're doing and singing along or dancing or both.
Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Wow, you were quick on the draw with that one. I change favorite songs like underwear. I don't have a favorite song of all time.
I just have a couple classics, like the Paradise City, the one from the Burnout games from Guns N' Roses. Paradise City's fucking just awesome. I like summer songs, summer rock and roll songs.
I feel like anything Ellie Goulding does, I just really...
Let's be honest, it's Ariana Grande for you. Let's go there, Maddie. Let's admit it. Prior to the podcast, Maddie was showing me he's got a signed fucking letter from her, signed photo. I'm just joking.
I just need it. I just need the attention. All right, R. Jamie. My question though: try to think of one of the most satisfying wins you've earned in a video game. I've been on Monster Hunter a lot lately, and it seems so damn satisfying to beat a monster that kicked your ass for several hours. Behemoth is if anyone rather knows the struggle. I'm struggling to read. It's at that point in the podcast. He says From Software games do this well too.
So just like a moment in a game?
A moment in a video game where you had your most satisfying win. He mentions as an example beating a boss in Monster Hunter and being like, yeah, I did it after getting his butt beat. I have an example because it's documented on my channel. It is called... what is it called? Maddie something Bloodborne. And pretty much what happens is I go into the Chalice dungeons in Bloodborne because I was going for the Platinum Trophy. And for those who don't know, the Chalice dungeons are procedurally generated dungeons in Bloodborne that really don't have as much structure as a typical FromSoft game because, as I mentioned, they are procedurally generated. So you'll go into a boss arena and it's just not fully tested for that boss in that environment. So one of them was the dog, the beast rather, is it Bloodstarved Beast? I think it is from. It's like the third boss in the whole game, but in the Chalice dungeon, you're a couple floors deep, and it's a very tight arena. And this dog is huge. Now, normally he's designed to fight you in a chapel, and the chapel's very roomy, and he has a lot of poison-based attacks that do damage over time. He hits like a truck, especially in the Chalice dungeon. He can one-hit you, and it was easily one of the most gruesome, horrible times I've had trying to beat a boss. When I beat him, I without a moment of hesitation, stood up through my controller and said yes, it was the biggest victory ever for me.
Yeah, I don't really get too celebratory. Mass Effect, I told you when you find out Shepard's alive, but that was after a battle, but that battle was cool. But I would say I'm not a big fan of the way Dark Souls and those games do the constant slashing a guy 1,000 fucking times. But I will say that in Neo, I think it was Neo. In Neo, the second boss is a chick or a dude who can fly around. That boss. And I died so many times. Yeah, I wanted to kill myself. I was just like, what is happening? But when I beat her, right, it is a her, I think.
Yes.
Isn't that right? Yeah.
Yes.
When I beat her, my skill level, and this is why I think it was one of the best bosses when it comes to elevating your skill level, because I had beat her after learning all this, and she was so hard that every enemy I faced afterwards was so much easier. Because I was just like a normal guy that was roasting me or very difficult. I was like, this is nothing, because you had just fought this guy for 5 fucking hours. And so, yeah, I would say Neo. So even though I'm not a big fan of those kind of games.
Neo has one.
Yeah.
For me as well. Yeah. It was Oda and the Ice Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. That was actually, especially because I was going for the Platinum Trophy, that was torture. I just have a sick obsession with getting platinums in those games, and I think I've changed definitely because I don't want to touch Sekiro at all. I just didn't enjoy that game. Knucklehead, this is a question for you, Karak. I've heard Karak mention a few times of how he races on a local track he has. I was wondering if you use your daily driver for this, or if you have a car dedicated to it, and what that/those cars are, assuming that this isn't too personal. Love the podcast you guys keep doing. Thank you for your love. Karak, I didn't know you raced.
Yeah, there's a local racetrack. You can actually pay insurance and you can race your car. And yeah, it's daily driver for sure. It's a Hyundai Genesis R-Spec. So it's
I don't know what any of this
500 horsepower.
It's a daily driver. Someone drives for you?
No, daily driver means it's what you drive daily. It's not a race car.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So you're able to pay on the local track and then race on the local track. And your times are set against other people's
so
times.
Awesome.
And I've been number 1 for about 3 years, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tried to do a review, by the way, while racing, which was the worst experience of my life. Almost died. Thought it was going to be really cool.
Sounds it.
Bro, Maddie, here's Karak's good idea. I'm like, dude, I'll put a webcam on the dash and try to fucking race in the car and do a review of a game as a joke. It was, I mean, I almost crashed in second. It was the dumbest fucking, I was like, sup everybody, this is Karak. God damn! I was just, it doesn't work, man.
It's that two-bird, one-stone approach that kills YouTubers.
Bro, and you'll see racers, pro racers, and you see them sweating when they're done, right? They're ripped a lot of times, they're in good shape. And the reason why is because that shit is hard as fuck. Yeah. You can sell it as not. But yeah, so I get to go do that. And most local racetracks around here allow you to have a race day, basically.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that's a thing that existed. I guess you got to start somewhere if you become professional, right? So,
yeah, and it's just I just happen to have a race car, so it's like I can take it, and I don't own a race car, but this car is fast enough that it's able to go on there. And I'm shit. You could do it with a Ford Focus if you wanted. I assume it would be fun, 20 miles an hour. But what do you drive?
Mitsubishi Galant. Well, 2005.
There you go, bro. Throw down some money on some
that car. I
am
a grandma driver. I drive slow. I definitely drive slow.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
I've lost control of my car twice. I don't speed, but like one time I was pulling in to my development and I hit like a gravel patch and my wheel kind of like locked to the left and I slid diagonally.
Yeah, I slid.
And one time I was going around a bend. I was going 35. Like, you're going slow enough, but you got to remember how much a car weighs. And I hit a puddle, and my car just 180'd into the other lane. Like, yeah, it was exactly. And it was like, oh, shit. Like, so I don't drive like a complete bitch, but like I'd follow the speed limit and whatnot. Racing, I would just fly off the road in a second.
It would be fun to. You might enjoy it. You never know. Like, yeah. I mean, because you are by yourself, so you don't have to worry about like.
True.
Other people. Which
True. I mean, okay. How about this? There's near me. There's a bumper car racer thing or a kart racer, and it's actually like a full on track, and you get in these karts and you race at full speeds. And like when I was there, of course, there were 3 people who did it professionally as like a living and were practicing for like a tournament. And they were just like bumping into me and like zipping around me. They lapped me, and I'm just sitting there like on a fucking Sunday stroll,
like a clown car.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's just driving by. What the fuck is wrong with this kid?
Yeah, exactly. They're like one girl like intentionally pulled up next to me and like hit me because like I was going too slow. I was like, "Fuck you, bro! What the fuck?" I was like, "I'm out here trying to have fun. Like I'm getting accustomed to this. This is my first time, and you're gonna just thrash me for it." Oh man. Next question comes from Tropical Ice Cow. I look at a lot of sports games. What the hell? I look at sports games career mode as an RPG, and I have issues with skills like speed. In reality, sprint speed peaks early in life and slowly diminishes over a career. However, in games, it is just another stat that you can increase over time. Are there any other skills in RPGs you would like to see more realistic to help enhance the experience? So you want to have pretty much like an age meter there, where as you get older, your stats go down. But there are some timeless talents that don't go down. So if you have that universal approach, you may end up having a game that makes no sense for some of your favorite players. An RPG skill that I'd like to see be more realistic. I've had issues with how RPGs categorize certain things. I think I saw in the Outer Worlds one where they were like, what was it? Oh, this is going to bother me. I think it was like dexterity or something, and the one thing it impacted made 0 sense to me. I can't think of it right now, but it's less of the skill itself and more so how developers will categorize that skill and what skills apply to that stat, so to speak. Like
mine is
strength always makes sense.
Absolutely, for sure, stamina for running, swinging a sword, because even when I was at my heaviest, which was like 289, I was able to still run 2 laps without like really breathing hard at full speed. A fucking GTA character can run 16 feet.
Off the rip,
fucking,
yeah. And they're
they're like eating donuts and fucking smoking a doobie or something. Like they show, I'm not lying. You're tapping the A and they're all, fuck, man. Yeah. I'm not meant to run. And you're like, dude, you're jacked as fuck. You are meant to do something, and I would say stamina beyond a shadow of a doubt. Every game I've ever played, you swing a sword 4 times, you're suddenly tired. If you go follow people who like do recreations of sword fighting and stuff like that, they're trying to literally kill each other, and they're fighting for like 9-10 minutes. Like it would be hard to do, but I would love to see that. I would love to see somebody relook at that. Fat man syndrome bothers me a lot.
Unless it's like in GTA San Andreas, where you can eat a lot and then become fat.
and then work out, remember? And you can lose the weight, and you can do the push-ups and run on the... So that game was...
awesome.
That game is so ahead of its time in all the stuff you can do. It's mind-blowing, man. Mind-blowing.
It's crazy. I don't hear it brought up in a lot of conversations outside of like the meme. They're like, ah, shit, here we go again. Like, that's the only time I hear it brought up. I'm like, that game was great when I was younger.
And three cities, remember? It was like 3 cities. It was all these jobs between being a trucker. Like, that was, it was beyond ahead of its time. So much stuff going on.
The next 3 questions have to do with content creation, so we'll answer them bit by bit. I was going to combine them all together, but I thought it'd just make the most sense to just go one by one, give you all your individual answers. Johnny EC. So I recently just started making YouTube videos. Congrats. Figured I'd start with a walkthrough series on Remnant, but I wanted to ask, do you believe consistency will eventually bring in an audience, or would putting extra effort to get your channel out there go a long way, such as networking? Outside of networking, what are some other ways you recommend to establish a viewer base?
I think you and I have talked about networking. I don't know, man. Maybe your idea has changed, but my idea that has seemed to really reflect what I've noticed is that networking just doesn't work. It doesn't offer a huge bonus because your audiences may not overlap. You and I've done podcasts with other YouTubers, and not even the idea of networking, but the idea of another YouTuber, and you think it'll work. You're just like, oh, well, they have some
like
people
our audience
watching.
will increase a ton. It's like
none.
Like,
or
100.
barely any. I was on Total Biscuits podcast twice, and I certainly got some subs, but not a ton. For me, I would say it's consistency, and it's also looking at the current look of videos. The current look of videos have changed. Right now, it's big for thumbnails. I've talked about certain types, but also infographics is huge. Momentary blurbs. I've even got them now with like avatar cartoons on your, like if you were doing reviews.
Yeah.
And I've got them even, and I've got them because that's what I've just started using them. It does actually work. That's the thing.
Because it lets you visually represent personality you're inserting. So if I'm talking about something and then I go to imitate a commenter who's going to ask me a question and go, but Matty, what about this mechanic in the game? And you see like a little chibi version of me pop up and start shaking around, like, that's such a good idea. I should do that. But the point being is like
that's exactly what I've been doing.
That keeps the experience visually enticing. I have a rule in videos where here's a perfect example. Just as I record this, today's upload, which was my Fallout 76 patch video, I have a rule with those types of videos where don't show the same thing for 15 seconds or more. Because I don't treat my viewers like these drones that can't hold their attention, but I know YouTube, I do it myself, and I'm a fucking creator, okay? Like, I will go on the app, I'll start watching someone's video, and I'll tab out before I'm even 10 seconds in and start looking for the next thing to watch. Not because what someone's doing is uninteresting, but I want to line up what I want to watch next. And if what that person says isn't interesting in that couple minute period, I'll move on to the next thing. So you want to make those, especially those opening moments, count, I feel. You always want to come out strong because then you have the viewer's attention. And then you can start to pace yourself a little bit. I always believe coming out of the gate strong and then pace yourself. But obviously there's moments where, like, a review, you need to be rip-roaring the whole way through. Like, you need to be scripted, point-to-point, visually representing what you're talking about. Like, I always tell people, if you drop a name, you drop a brand, you drop something, show it. So if I'm talking about Fallout, and I mention as an example the Outer Worlds, don't keep showing Fallout gameplay. Instantly, you're back to Outer Worlds right there. And then once you're done, go back to Fallout. And then the second I start talking about KOTOR gameplay, just represent what you're talking about. Holy crap, I can't emphasize it enough. This is why I do consultations on my Patreon, because a lot of people come in and be like, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, you're not doing anything wrong. You're a good creator. It's just the video production. It's just a very small thing that you can miss. You think 10 minutes of commentary and straight gameplay works. It does not. Constantly switching between. That's why I like using my camera for my videos, because sometimes you just don't want to do straight gameplay. You want to insert yourself there.
Exactly.
So you want to have you, gameplay, now a news article, then new gameplay, then you again. It's constantly changing, and it's intriguing. It's visually enticing. Maybe not me, but the video itself.
I think that's why some people who are nice, whether it's charged or not, but you and I both consult. There's a couple other people that I know now consult, and one of the reasons why is because, dude, shit changes so fast that you'll jump into something and be like, for example, networking did work at one time, and then it didn't, and you need to know, not that it'll never work, but it's just like this might not get the return that you hope for. And videos right now have to look a certain way that they 2 years ago did not have to look like to get
it's very
and they have
competitive.
to sound a certain way.
We were just talking earlier in this show about how games are very competitive, and your product, even if it's good, can get munched up real fast, and that's why daily uploading is encouraged, because you want to be there every day. People don't care if you do it once a week. I know some people are in a position where they can do uploads once or every week or two. I'm one of those people who can't, so I gotta be there most days of the week, at least 5 days a week, telling you, why I deserve to be in your sub box, why you should be watching me, and you got to make those days count. As for networking, that's how I got my initial spurt, really, because what I did was I was like one of the few people making Fallout 4 videos, and then I'd reach out to Fallout 4 Facebook pages and Instagram pages, and I'd be like, hey, do you want to do like a cross promo? Post my videos when they go live. I'll shout out your Facebook pages. And I had that going for a really long while. And then Instagram pages started working, and I had a lot of people shouting out when my content went live, and it helped me grow a foundation. So when Fallout 4 became a thing, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I literally went from day one of Fallout 4 being announced from 90,000 to 108,000 subscribers. I literally exploded because I was in people's minds for I don't want to say it like an egotistical manner, because that sounds wrong, but you're in the back of people's head. They've either seen your name in passing, maybe they didn't sub, but they've heard of you some way or another. You've gradually grown. I was at 90,000. That's not a number to snuff at. And you see that game that finally becomes real, and then they see your channel, and they're like, this guy's been talking about Fallout 4 for like 8 months. Holy crap, he's got to know what he's talking about. And that's how you get your foot in the door. So consistency is really important too, because you got to be, you got to have something to show. So initially on, you're not going to probably your first 2 videos, 3 videos, and so on aren't going to really net you anything. It's when you have that big boom video and you have a catalog to back it too. It's not just about one video. I just had a video for Greedfall. I've had 3 videos in this past month combined for well over 500,000 between a Greedfall video, an Outer Worlds opinion video, and a Borderlands opinion video. And all of them have done stupid well. And back in like 2015, with that type of video growth or video performance I saw, I would have another 20,000 subs. But it's just different nowadays. People don't instantly click the sub button now.
Exactly. It doesn't. I've noticed it for sure.
I'm thrilled I got, and granted I'm a lot bigger now, but I'm thrilled I got 2,500 plus new subscribers. I'm absolutely ecstatic because that's more than I usually see per month. But it's a lot harder to earn people subs now, and that's why that's why you see game companies not going off the metrics of your sub count, but they'll go off your engagement with your commenters, what kind of community you're growing, and how many views you pull in. And that's why you see a lot of people reaching with these.
We could add to that. That's why you and I don't do it, but I think that's why you see some channels skew towards political stuff. Because if you can get a political group on your side, and group meaning group of fans, if you can get a political of any side group on your side, you can see a huge. I've seen it. I've seen some channels where I can legit tell that they did a political video. Like you'll look at their subs and be like, yeah, political video.
I give them props in a sense because I just think that type of the internet's terrifying. I'm just like, I don't want to be on that side of the internet. I will just keep making gaming videos. If I grow inch by inch, I don't care, because I think part of this also depends on how easily satisfied you are. For me, I just flourish in small victories. And I said this, Karak, you weren't on the podcast when someone asked, but they were like, what's the definition of success? And I said success pretty much was like big or small, it's a victory. And so for me, if I post a Persona video, I'm known for Western RPGs, and if I post a Persona video and it gets past 10,000, 10,000 isn't a lot, but for me 10,000 on a Persona video, that's excellent. And so I celebrate that. That's the type of thing you just always want to celebrate, because then you enjoy it and you commend yourself for your hard work.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to remember, I did a video on like sort of what to get out of your numbers. And one of the things I was telling people is somebody took the time. If somebody watched your video, somebody
Very
took
true.
the time to watch your video, and they took their time out of their day, that can be pretty special, even if it's a very small amount of people. Because you and I both have certain things we upload that just don't.
Yeah, man.
My podcast and your podcast, neither one of them nail it. But it's like then somebody's in your patron and they'll be like, or mine, and they'll be all, or in the Discord and they'll be like, oh, I joined because of the podcast. And you're like, all right, you know what?
You're satisfying someone, yeah.
Yeah, that just paid for itself. You know, you're just like, all right, I guess that is working. It's just not working in the same way as
I think
hitting
it's
1,000.
Easy nowadays to cap this off, because we do have two other questions that we could keep going into. But it's easy to look at one site and be like, oh, their YouTube channel's not doing good. But nowadays it's about how many places can you be. Yep. Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Patreon? Are you on Twitch? Are you on YouTube? Are you on Mixer? Now, I've considered doing, like, there's a way you can stream and you can pull in viewers from, for example, both Twitch and YouTube and, like, sort of net them together. I don't think that's a smart way to do it. Just build yourself on a separate platform. For me, my Twitch streams do not go crazy pop-off mode. I usually sit around 80 to 90 viewers, which, like Karak said, that's insane to me. I'm like, dude, imagine sitting in a room with 90 people and they're all watching you play a game. That's crazy. But
I'm assuming you're talking about Restream.
I think so,
Something
yeah.
like Restream.
Yeah, where you can, like, go live on two places, and then people will private the YouTube video because they'll get the donations and subscriptions from that, and they'll get the subscriptions and donations from Twitch, and obviously Twitch just archives it.
Same as you. I think it's better to stick with one. I think those groups don't meet too well either.
No, they don't.
Those fans of, like, your YouTube are not a fan of your Twitch, and vice
versa
a lot of times.
Exactly. I can confidently, like, I have... My YouTube channel has... I really like my comment section because they're pretty straight with me. No one's ever, like, super toxic, super roasty. I mean, you get pretty much the same shit across any comment section, but I'm happy that mine isn't, like, abysmal. And when I go to my Twitch page, it's like, it's just so loving and supportive, because what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, is when you go to another site, you're enforcing another click. And I'm telling you right now, that extra click weeds out so much bullshit. It's why I tell people all the time, like, I think the Discord's amazing. I was just talking last night because people were in our Discord were talking about how good the community there was. And a big part of it is because, A, the people there are amazing, but B, there is a dollar that you have to spend to get in. And it absolutely cuts out so much of the bullshit.
Yep.
It's so nice. So keep all that in mind. Sci-Fi Man asks, can you go over your work hours as a content creator? Things like work hours when you decide to start the day, and do you set hours for when you just stop or when you hit a certain amount of work? Or when you hit a certain amount of work, sorry.
You want to go first, or you want me to?
Yeah, I can go first. I work Monday through Friday. That's kind of my structure. I make sure I have weekends off now. I used to not take weekends off, but it's just healthy for me. What I usually like to do is work 10:30 to dinner time. So I get, because usually within that time I can produce a video and get out something. It was a lot easier back when YouTube didn't really demand 10+ minute videos.
Right.
Yeah, back when I could put out like a 5-minute video, my channel wouldn't get punished in the sub boxes or get smothered because it was shorter. Now you need to produce longer content, multiple ads to enforce watch time, and that keeps your channel relevant. So I also have a lot to say, so it helps in general that, you know, I can do that, but it takes longer to produce those videos. So I have just enough time to make a full-on video every day sitting down. Now, technically, my work hours stretch to like from 7 to 9 at night because I stream usually most days of the week. But it depends on how much you schedule. For example, for The Outer Worlds, created like 8 videos in advance, so I really had like a week off to just stream and chill and recharge my batteries. You don't know what you're getting into every day. Like, I could wake up tomorrow and I'll have a code for Greedfall in my inbox, and I'll be like, okay, Greedfall is supposed to be a pretty big game for me. I'm going to put all my chips in on that. I'm going to make some shorter videos. I'm going to stack up 2 of them. I'm going to have 2 days free now. With uploads prepared, so my channel will be active. Maybe you won't make as much ad revenue, but the idea is that hopefully Greedfall is this really successful game for my channel. I'm going to put my all into the review and go from there with guides and whatnot and DLC coverage, like that type of shit. That's how I kind of structure it. But yeah, usually my general structure is get up, have your breakfast, wake up your body, shower, go to work, leave at 5, because you could work and edit more than that, but I want to exercise. I want to just have time to myself. You need your unplugging time for this job, for sure.
Yeah, it's super important, I think.
Absolutely. Do you have like a set work hours that I know you've talked like sometimes like based off how things go, you'll be like, oh, my Wednesday and Thursday becomes my Saturday and Sunday. Yeah,
that's the only difference I would have from you. Truly would be that right now, at least, because I'm more reviews. I'm not very good at this, like the 10-minute, like shorter videos for some reason, and so it's tough because you gotta have actual substance there. There's
or else
something
you look
about
like a
it that. Yeah, there's something about it that I just once I sort of talk about something, I'm done for whatever reason. Probably because we do so many podcasts. So then you're like, there's so much content. But yeah, so I work on reviews. So if a review comes in, then I'm working. If a review is not here, then I am not. And I wake up every single day at exactly 4. I work out for 2 hours, and then I work until about 5:30 usually when people come home and it's time for me to take care of shit. Exactly. And that can go for 14 days in a row, or it can go for 3. It all depends on if you get a review, or 5. Like the worst thing is waking up and going, oh, I got this big review, and sitting down and then seeing a tab come up. I say this is the worst, but it's not, but you get my drift. And you'll look and it'll be another game and you're all uh-oh. You're like, and now I got a double schedule and then you got to really figure out like you said, do you take away, real life time? Your like outside life, personal life, do you take time away? Because that can be difficult, because it can make you good money. Because in my situation, it's like, okay, I have a puppy to take care of. So usually my days are pretty clogged between making a video and taking care of him, back and forth. And that's why dogs, so I know that feel. Exactly. So when I first got my puppy, a couple of people who paid close attention will notice like I had editing errors in some of my initial videos when I got him. I fucked up in like at least 3 separate videos, like audio errors, editing errors, like just it kept happening. And I just straight up said to people, I was like, look, I'm like really stressing my dog. I'm trying to do 2 things at once. I'm just gonna take a day to chill. And that's kind of the beauty of the job. You don't have a boss who's calling you in despite your mood. You can decide when you're ready to come back, but you can't take too much time off because, like I said, you get punished for it pretty much. There's a system in place that enforces that constant work. Yeah, it's weird. It's fucking definitely the weirdest job I've ever had. It is, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to do anything else. Nope. Grimblade says, sensing a theme to these questions, have you considered giving a themed question prompt as another form of viewer interaction? A reverse question and answer might be interesting as a supplement to the patron questions. Ooh. I don't know what that means. I think he's saying next week's theme is movies. Oh, I see. Bring all your movie questions, I think. I don't know what he means by a reverse question and answer. By that, he may be saying, like, we ask a question and they answer, which could be cool. I might create a new section. I could create a new section on the Patron Discord called Answers and Questions. And what I'll do is I'll pop a question in there weekly and gather the answers, and I'll read them at the end of the show. I think that could be fun. Yeah, it's a good idea. Okay, so we'll add that in. Thank you, Grimblade. See, is this how you guys get involved in the show? All right, we still got 3 questions left. We're nearing the end here. I thought of more of a fun-like question. This is from Natural Calamity. We answered his question right in the beginning, actually. If you had to choose a different name for your channel, what would it be, and what would the intro be? Mine, Yo Yo Yo. It's your boy, Tyrannical Misconception, back from extinction, ready to make some mistakes and make memories with you beautiful creatures. Wow. Thought that one through. Yeah, he had that prepped. He was like, I have this good joke now. How can I just stuff it into a question? So what the question is what would your channel name be if it wasn't what it is? Yeah, and how would you introduce yourself? I don't know, because it would always be sup for me, because that's just what I say to people. Yeah, see, here's the thing, guys. I was so anal about my fucking channel name. Oh, were you?
I did not start Mr. Matty Plays on for months because I was working on a name. Like I told, because I originally had a channel, Glitcher27, then I did G27 status, and I was like, both those don't roll off the tongue. And I said, my plan from the start, I'm not going to act like I had like this mastermind plan, but my goal rather from the start was, I want Mr. Matty Plays to be like a big thing. Like, I want to grow, I want to make this my job. And so I was like, what is a name that rolls off the tongue and you know what I do, and it kind of is universal, it doesn't lock you into one piece of content. Like, what do you name yourself then? I was like, my mom, I think, or my grandma was like, name it after you, duh. And I'm like, okay. And then one time I walked in my grandma's house and she was like, Mr. Matthew, how are you? And she just kept calling, she always calls me Mr. Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing, Mr. Matthew? What's going on, Mr. Matthew? Then I was playing Call of Duty, and one of my teammates, because I used to play competitively, he called me Matty once, and then one of my best friends, Tim, at the time, he was like, hey, Matty's actually a pretty good name. And so I was like, hey, what about Mr. Matty? And they're like, Mr. Matty just doesn't, it's good, but how do you know you're a gamer? I was like, Mr. Matty Plays, and right then and there we were like, yeah, that's it. So
gotcha.
I just can't imagine changing it because there was such a process and a thought behind my name. I just can't.
And mine had 0. That's the cool thing between you and I. Mine was 0. A roommate from South America. He also called me Mister. It's strange you mentioned that.
That's
but
wild.
He would call me Mister and then my last name all the time. But one time I came into his room and it was just so gross. He was from a different world, man. And I was kicking around his clothes as a joke. And he's like, you're like an angry, and he couldn't figure out what the creature was. And he said, horseman. And I'm like, centaur? And he's like, yeah, you're like an angry centaur roommate. And then that became our rock band name. Angry Centaur Roommate was the rock band name. And then once it went live, I did Angry Centaur Gaming. And then for a while, I was just like, it has nothing to do with games. I didn't expect the channel to do well. And it did well. And then ACG just works because it's 3 letters. I swear to God, you can get away. And people even think I'm angry or always caffeinated gamer. Literally. The number of people who think that's what the ACG stands for is really high. And that fits me because I'm pretty much always caffeinated. So 3 letters, because I get you, Mr. Matty's doesn't roll, but Mr. Matty Plays rolls down. Yeah. Like when you say it, it's perfect. And 3 letters always works. So I can just, the EGM, IGN, ACG, they're pretty, as long as they don't mean
3.
Yeah, and as long as they don't mean something dirty. Like, if I called my channel A2M, I'd be in deep shit. Luckily, I didn't. But, yeah, it's just, mine was completely on accident. Like, it was not supposed to be anything. I wish it had. I wish I had thought about it more. I just don't know what I would name it.
Sorry, we only had 2 questions left because Knucklehead had reposted his question about the driving. He said reposting because of Solo Show last week. Well, we got you covered, Knucklehead. Last question comes from one of my good friends, Doom Never. Who is the most consistent developer and publisher this console generation, good and bad? Mine is FromSoft. Sony. EA is consistently bad publisher.
Is there a reason why you specified console? Can I use a non-console?
Just this console generation. So I guess I think it's the time frame, like this PS4 to now, sort of period.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, Playway. They do the simulator games, Truck Mechanic Simulator, Euro Truck Simulator. It's ridiculous. Go look at them on Steam. It's ridiculous, and they're mostly rated well. It's like we were joking about. I mean, we're talking like 25 titles, all rated at like 75 and above. I mean, they're legit.
That's good business.
Yeah, and it's sort of like Nordic in a way, where it's not these huge titles. It's just these. They fit. And they've impressed me recently.
A consistently good developer. I'm gonna go with Insomniac, just because they're on the brain right now. And I'd say it's pretty accurate. They went to Xbox. They did Sunset Overdrive, which is my favorite exclusive on that platform. Then they came back and they did Ratchet and Clank. I mean, they dabbled in VR a little bit, but then they did Ratchet and Clank, which was one of my favorite PS4 exclusives, and I played and beat that game 3 times. And then they did Spider-Man, which is that and Bloodborne. I go back and forth between being my favorite PS4 exclusive ever. So I think they killed it this generation. I think this was all their all them, man. They did
think
so well.
the only failure they've had was, I think, in the 360 when they made Fuse.
Yeah, with the
Fuse was not a good shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the third-person shooter. That was
It's like a squad-based shooter, right?
Yeah, dude.
I remember
and
playing
it
the demo for it. I couldn't tell you a thing about it, though. I don't remember.
Trust me, that's good for me and you both.
I'm going to look it up after this now because I like to torture myself.
It's not, but yeah, Insomniac's a really good example of a big public or small, maybe not a huge developer, but big games continually successful. They made the Resistance games too, right?
Yes, yeah. Holy crap, yes. That was PS3, but holy crap, yeah. I hope that comes back. Oh my god.
Well, Killzone wasn't it?
Killzone
no, that was
was
Killzone. That's
was that
Guerrilla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consistent publisher. I'd go with Namco Bandai or Nintendo. I don't know if Nintendo counts. Nintendo should count.
Dude, they count, bro.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
The reason I say Namco Bandai is because they're not. I don't know if you could put them in the consistently good category. Like they made stuff like Jump Force. They've made their series of bad anime fighters. But what happens is all these games generate attention and hype because they very much, at least aesthetically and presentation-wise, look very true to their source material. And they serve the fans of that usually fairly well. At least in Dragon Ball, they've done pretty well. Outside of Battle of Z, that instantly comes to mind. But I'd probably more so err on the actual side of Nintendo, but I just feel like Namco comes up. Consistently bad, yep, you took the word out of our mouths. EA, Konami, I mean, that's not really tough to think of. That's just a shame.
No, there's no other ones that even come close to them. I was going to say Sony as a publisher does pretty goddamn well.
Yeah, that's what he said as well. Sony's pretty good.
Oh, did he say Sony?
Yeah, he said FromSoft/Sony.
Oh, I got you. Oh, I heard FromSoft. I didn't think about the next part. Yeah, I would say Sony is. They're nailing it. Microsoft wishes they had the failures Sony had.
Yeah. I think consistently bad developer, I got to be honest, it's probably BioWare. I think this has been their worst generation yet. Andromeda,
have they had a
Inquisition, and Anthem. Those are all three complete duds.
And those are all three their main games, right? They don't have any others we're missing, do they?
No. Mass Effect 3 was 2012, I want to say. I guess you could say Inquisition wasn't as bad because people like it. I consider it bad, but
that's true. Inquisition, I would give I could see somebody liking that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to do in Inquisition. Not fun stuff for me, but there's a lot to do.
Yeah, so maybe not a huge dud, but still, I think that their two most recent duds have been like astronomically bad. Where they need to nail Dragon Age 4, and when you find out that the lead producer of Anthem just left, the guy who like coordinates everything, and I think the lead one of the producers on Dragon Age 4 left as well, it does not instill confidence in me personally. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all of your patron questions answered. That took us just over an hour to do. Now that we're back and good to go, we'll be a lot more consistent here. We appreciate you guys understanding the situation with the show and firing away with all your questions, despite what was going on with the show. I really appreciate that. Karak, any closing words, comments, thoughts?
No, it's been awesome. You should do the theme. You should make sure that the theme thing is like the movie questions. That thing.
Or like comic
that's a good suggestion.
So we can ask them the questions and then they can answer and we can read those in the same breath.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, be very cool.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 216 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. We appreciate all of you tuning in, and we will catch you guys next Sunday or Friday, maybe. Oop, I burped. Friday, maybe? Who knows? Depends if you're a patron or not. We'll talk soon. Peace out.
Peace out.